Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 41-60. Chapter 0041 You say a misunderstanding is a misunderstanding. What? Kuzan's eyes widened in disbelief. The nine-tailed fox in front of him was orange-yellow. Observation Hockey detected it, but what he sensed was not the breath of a living creature. On the contrary, it is a violent evil, and that evil is extremely dark. Tailed Beast Cannon. The nine-tailed demon fox opened its mouth wide, and the mysterious power condensed into a strange little ball in front of the mouth. The next moment, the small ball suddenly swelled and turned into a strange dark red sun. Oops! Kizaru's face changed greatly, and he could feel the destructive power contained in this hit just by looking at it. Everyone spreads out. He shouted at the warship behind. However, this is still a step too late. The dark red-tailed beast cannon shot out in an instant. The cannon didn't specifically aim at anyone, it just flew in the direction of Marine. Kizaru and Kuzan didn't have time to dodge at all. The tailed beast cannon had exploded with a loud bang. The violent energy began to radiate outward, and the entire ice surface was instantly blown into powder. But this was just the beginning. After the explosion, the tail beast cannon rapidly expanded, swallowing everything in a radius of hundreds of meters in one go. In the attack range, the two admirals, Kizaru and Kuzan, were directly beaten to pieces. On the warship that is 3 nautical miles away, the seamen who are unfolding the encirclement are all sluggish. What happened? Kizaru Admiral. Monster. Nine-tailed fox. Never heard of such a monster. These people only heard a loud roar from Kizaru, but before they could react, a huge explosion occurred in the distance of their field of vision. 3 nautical miles, which is 5,000 meters, at this distance, Kizaru can arrive in an instant, and similarly, the aftermath of the explosion also spreads here. Just like a bulldozer, the aftermath of the tail beast cannon directly flattened the entire ice surface. The wind is coming. Disperse, put down the sails. The voices of 5 vice admiral rang out one after another on several warships. However, at this time, it is too late to save. Violent, typhoon-like winds and waves hit violently, accompanied by countless shards of ice, each of which is like a bullet, and any sailor who is hit will be seriously injured if not dead. Suddenly, screams came and went. In a panic, swept by the strong wind, the sails of all the warships were directly blown to pieces, and some of them couldn't stand it. The central mast was shaky and would break at any time. Get down, Momonga Vice Admiral warned quickly. Everyone panicked to avoid the invasion of the freezing rain, each looking for shelter, and the aftermath of the tail beast gun was still like the scythe of the god of death, and then harvested life. Impossible. Ibaraki is just an ordinary member of the fantasy, and the 2 admirals are not opponents. What the hell is that nine-tailed fox? Monster. Just a roar has such power. Many school officials were frightened, and with frightened eyes, they looked at the battlefield in the extreme distance. After a long time, the aftermath of the tail beast cannon gradually dissipated. Kuzan have been completely shattered, and the sea has resumed its ebb and flow. Outside the explosion point, the nine-tailed demon fox was safe and sound. He stepped on the sea surface on all fours, but he would not fall into the water. A pair of evil fox eyes glanced ahead. Suddenly, the sound of icing crackling sounded, a sea surface was suddenly icy, and a frozen statue rose from the ground. After a while, Kuzan returned to his human form. What are you? He glanced back in disbelief. The large contingent of warships was almost out of combat, with countless casualties. At this time, on his side, golden light spots converged, and Kizaru's figure gradually condensed into a solid body. What a terrifying power! If this is hit directly in the fleet, the entire fleet will be destroyed in an instant. He couldn't help but linger in fear, staring at the nine-tailed demon fox in front of him as if he were facing an enemy. Does Marine know to be afraid too? Qin Yang grinned. He dived into the sea before, and immediately took out the treasure jade box of Dragon Palace City. After absorbing it, he turned on the transformation of the nine-tailed demon fox. This transformation is too strong, and it is terrifyingly strong. At the moment of transformation, he already knew it. Even if you can't kill the two admirals, you can beat the other side out of temper. Therefore, at the moment when the forced transformation was turned on, he directly broke out of the sea and launched an attack. He needs to teach Marine a good lesson and let them know it hurts, otherwise it's really annoying to keep staring at him. After hearing his words, Kuzan and Kizaru fell silent. Something went wrong, and they were about to capture Ibaraki, but a nine-tailed demon fox appeared out of nowhere, and the fleet suffered heavy losses. If they went back like this, neither of them would be able to explain to Sengoku. "What the hell are you?" Kizaru asked in a deep voice, not daring to act rashly. "Who am I?" Chinyang snorted. "Aren't you arrogant when you attacked Ibaraki just now? Why don't you do it now? I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm one of the Dream Cadres, the nine-tailed demon fox." Dream. Nine-tailed demon fox. Chinyang and Kizaru's expressions changed at the same time. Although they had expected it, the other party's admission made their hearts sink. "I feel that things have become more difficult today, and looking at the aggressive look of the other party, it is not good to be kind." Seeing this, Chinyang was ready to scare them again. Immediately mocked, "Do you think that the members of Dream are scattered all over the place, and can have the opportunity to defeat them one by one? I regret to tell you that any member of Dream has the ability to summon a cadre from a long distance." After a pause, his sarcasm became stronger and stronger. "Fortunately, it was me who came this time. If it were the other cadres, you would have already been wiped out." Destroy the group. Two admirals felt a chill in their hearts. The Dream Pirates were really scary. Cadre would be very strong, but I didn't expect it to be so strong. I'm afraid that a single admiral would not be able to beat the cadre. Undoubtedly Admiral. Kizaru glanced at his colleague with a heavy heart. "No, it's a little more powerful than Admiral." Kuzan's face is not good. The ghost knows how many officials there are in the Dream Pirates. If there are more than 4, then I am afraid it is another absolute power comparable to the 4 emperors. This, Kuzan took a deep breath, looked up at Chinyang, and said, "It should be a misunderstanding, how about we stop here? Anyway, your Ibaraki was not injured, but our side suffered heavy losses. After that, as long as Dream does not take the initiative provocation, Marine can live peacefully with you for the time being." Misunderstanding. Chinyang pouted, his 9 tails swayed continuously, as if mocking each other. "You say a misunderstanding is a misunderstanding. As a joke, it's quite funny." As soon as the voice fell, he moved his back foot, and instantly launched an attack on the two. Chapter 0042 Kizaru injured _ I can't reply to the book review, saying that I've exceeded the limit of advertisements, and I read all the reviews. Novel Literature Network. Regarding the issue of avatars, I won't do it, because many readers will not like it, and even have the idea of, the avatar wears a cuckold to the protagonist. Please rest assured, and then, all members of the fantasy will appear together. This, I will think a more proper way to implement it is definitely not perfect. By the way, about the launch, it will probably be launched in the early morning of Sunday. Please collect . Close black lens bracket. You say a misunderstanding is a misunderstanding. As a joke, it's really funny. As soon as the voice fell, Chinyang moved his back foot and launched an attack. The 9-tailed demon fox is huge and 100 meters long. With the advantage of its size, Chinyang 1 didn't use any tricks at all. He raised his right paw and slapped it directly. Above this claw, a dark red mysterious power is wrapped, and the movement is fast, like lightning. Seeing this, Kuzan's head was as big as an ox. "You can only fight, don't kill, if you provoke the rest of the cadres." Needless to say, Kizaru knew it too. Now the situation has changed. They don't dare to do it lightly, for fear of provoking the appearance of other masters who dream. The dignified admiral is really embarrassed. At this moment, facing Chinyang's right paw, the two dodged at the same time. The two of them are also admiral. Although they are not as good as real masters in terms of fighting technique, they will not be injured so easily. Boom! The nine-tailed demon fox's claws slapped on the ice surface, directly smashing it into pieces. And the entire sea, because of the bombardment of this force, set off huge waves dozens of meters high, a shock wave visible to the naked eye, scattered away. Dodging, Kuzan glanced at the situation, and his heart suddenly froze. The power of the flesh is so strong. Ordinary warships can be smashed with a slap. Marine's warship is a semi-iron armored ship, which is many times stronger than a common sailboat, but it is so. Kuzan also feels that it can't hold the claws of the nine-tailed demon fox. There's still time for distraction in the fight. Admiral is expected. Suddenly, a mocking voice came. Kuzan's face changed slightly, and before he could avoid it, his body was caught by the other front paw of the nine-tailed demon fox. Taste the taste of being crushed. Qinyang looked at each other playfully, and his left hand suddenly exerted force. Along with the dark red evil force, a huge force grabbed Kuzan, and it was ascending at a very terrifying speed. Huh! Kuzan groaned, his eyes narrowed, armament hockey covered his entire body, and his whole body became pitch black. Armament extremely strengthens the defense. After use, the covered surface will appear pitch black. However, this stalemate only lasted 2 seconds, and Kuzan was shocked to find that his armament couldn't resist. Click! A sudden sound, Kuzan fluidized rapidly, and with a snap, the whole person was directly crushed into pieces of ice. Don't run away with fluids if you can. Qinyang said unhappily. He still doesn't know armament hockey and can't catch the fluid, which is the most annoying. At this moment, above the sky, a dazzling golden light suddenly shone. Qinyang's fox eyes lifted up, and he saw Kizaru turned into a golden sun, his hands crossed in front of Shang, countless photons converged, and the next moment, the light bombs poured down like rain. Don't think we're afraid of you, Fox Yasukani no Magatama. Incomparably dazzling light bullets poured down like rain. Boom boom boom. The nine-tailed demon fox is huge and cannot dodge in the face of a large area attack. However, Qinyang didn't even bother to move at all, allowing Kizaru's attack to come. Every light bullet hits the body, it will explode, the ability is transmitted, and the impact is emitted into the body. However, the nine-tailed demon fox's expression remained unchanged under this kind of attack. Above the sky, Kizaru couldn't help frowning, gritted his teeth and said, "It turned out to be an energy body. What kind of creature are you?" Incredible. The body of the nine-tailed demon fox is not flesh and blood, but a gathering of evil and dark energy, but it looks like a fox. Kizaru's attacks smashed down, only to disrupt the energy for a moment, and then recover all of it after a while. What's more, compared to the enormous energy of the nine-tailed demon fox, the light bullet he smashed was no different from a small pebble. Energy body, normal attacks don't work. On the other side, Kuzan, who fled in fluidized form, had returned to his human form at this moment. When he saw this scene, he immediately felt extremely troubled. Hit, almost impossible to kill. Catch, it is even more difficult than killing the opponent. Humph, fluids aren't everything. Qinyang snorted, opened his mouth to the sky, and roared. Roar. The roar was harsh, and the sound seemed to be some kind of shock, which directly shocked people's minds. Kizaru and Kuzan frowned, the sound giving them a splitting headache. The next moment, before the big mouth of the demon fox, the dark red abilities converged into a small ball. Tailed beast cannon. Boom. From the condensing of energy to the launch, every second before and after. If it was normal, Kizaru could dodge, but the previous sound wave stabbed his brain, making his reaction half a beat slower. This time, he was directly hit by the tail beast cannon. Boom. It was like a firework exploded in the sky, and the raging energy directly beat Kizaru into countless photons. Even if it was fluidized, he could not help but suffer a trace of damage. Haha, uncle, I won't play with you anymore, goodbye, next time we shoot at our dream people, it won't necessarily be me. A loud laugh. Qinyang didn't bother to entangle with these two Shaoqiangs who couldn't be beaten to death, so he stepped on the sea and ran away. You're going to run. Kuzan looked ugly. Rather than chasing me, you should be more concerned about Kizaru. Qinyang glanced at it, and he was faster. In the blink of an eye, he ran out of a kilometer. Kuzan hesitated for a while, but still didn't chase. It's useless to chase, just like the opponent can't kill him, he can't hurt the opponent. At this time, in front of him, countless photons condensed, and Kizaru appeared. Soon as he condensed into a human form, Kizaru let out a wow, vomited blood, and then he was half kneeling, his face pale. What? Kuzan was taken aback. You're Logia and you'll get hurt. His energy attack is not simple. Kizaru's eyes were blood red and his emotions were violent. I was invaded by his evil power, it even interfered with my consciousness. Kuzan's heart froze, and then he realized that he seemed to be attacked by the energy of the other party, but it was not as serious as Kizaru. It's really troublesome, it's got to do with fantasy, it's all troublesome. He said with a wry smile. However, it's not without gain this time, at least we know now dreams are not easy to mess with. Chapter 0043_3-star Capability. Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Office of the Marshal. Sengoku slapped his palm and slapped the table so hard that it almost shattered. You mean, the mission failed? He suppressed his anger. The other end of the phone, Kuzan's voice came. Yes, in the middle of capturing Dream member Ibaraki, a Dream cadre intervened. The two of us couldn't catch the creature, and Kizaru was even injured. Kuzan briefly reported the situation of the mission. In the end, he said helplessly, although we didn't catch it, we got two useful pieces of information. What information? Sengoku's face was ashen, but he didn't lose his mind. After all, Kizaru was injured, which shows the strength of the opponent this time. First, any Dream member has a method of summoning a cadre from a distance. From this ability, it may be props, or other things. In short, in the Dream Pirates, there is probably a space, those with the power of the fruit, exist. Second, one of the fantastic cadres, the nine-tailed demon fox, has admiral-level strength, at least one-on-one. I shouldn't be able to fight. Of course, it is impossible for the other party to kill me. But I learned from the conversation, the nine-tailed demon fox is not the strongest among the cadres, and the number of cadres, I suspect, is more than 3. After hearing the two pieces of information that Kuzan said, Sengoku fell silent. Marine Admiral level, and even slightly more. This news alone is enough to make him unable to eat. In contrast, Ibaraki's escape was only a small problem. What kind of pirate group is this, and where did it come from? Sengoku was furious. With this power, it can already be compared to the 4 Emperor pirates. You must know that the nine-tailed demon fox is only a cadre, and above the cadres, there are naturally leaders. Even a cadre is so strong, how terrible should the Dream Captain be? It is already conceivable that that person is probably a super expert equivalent to the 4th Emperor level, otherwise, it is impossible to hold down the group of murderers below. I understand, you come back first, the wounded are settled, the dead sailors will be buried at sea first, and then they will enter the cemetery. Dejectedly hung up the phone, Sengoku held his forehead with a headache. Garp Vice Admiral on the sand side laughed Isho and said, it's really unexpected. Although it's not a trap, it's more terrifying than a trap. What time is it, Garp? Are you still in the mood to laugh? Sengoku glared at his colleague angrily. What can't you do? Putting aside the strength of the people like Dream, their purpose is even more intriguing. Garp nibbled at the senbei, looking very calm. Although the 4 emperors are also scary, their purpose is clear. Hearing this, Sengoku fell into deep thought. You were right. The unknown purpose is the key. We Marine are at a disadvantage. Even if the 4 emperors become 5, it will not be worse. He said that, his eyes flashed, and he suddenly had an idea. it seems that Shichibukai's matter. Please agree to it. Even if it is not a cadre, you have to let a dream member enter the marine system. Try to contact first, solve it. Open the fog of the opponent, and then decide the countermeasures. Quote. Stability is above everything else. Sengoku chose to step back, but it was also a helpless move. He is a little convinced of the Dream Pirates, and if he takes any action against a member, he will provoke the cadres. Unless he is ready to go to war, there is no way to take the other party. Seeing this, Garp teased, haha, I promised before, Marine still has some face, but now the situation is reversed, you have to ask them to join. Immediately, Sengoku's face turned purple. Garp, you bastard, get out. Chinyang ran over the sea, hundreds of meters in an instant. After leaving the entrance sea area of the New World, there is already an endless ocean around, and there is no shadow of land at all. However, Chinyang is not worried about this. The power of the nine-tailed demon fox, even if it runs wild for 7 days and 7 nights, it is estimated that there will be no problem. In contrast, he was more curious about the power displayed by this transformation. Fantasy. What's the matter? In his mind, the voice of Fantasy Jean sounded, but there was still no emotional fluctuation. Didn't you say before that the new transformation will be at the same level as the sea dragon? In my opinion, the nine-tailed demon fox is much stronger than the sea dragon. Chinyang asked. That's for sure because it's 3-star. 3-star. Chinyang was stunned. Isn't the new transformation all 2-star at the beginning? No, because the mysterious power absorbed this time is even larger, so it is a 3-star. You can see for yourself. As soon as the voice fell, a virtual picture flashed in Chinyang's mind. Fourth change. Nine-tailed fox. Star rating. Ability 1, Tail Beast Cannon. Ability 2, Demon Fox Godfire. Ability 3, Form Switching. Ability 4, Unlocked. Ability 5, Unlocked. Sure enough, it's a 3-star. Chinyang was taken aback. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Taking a closer look at the ability, he immediately frowned. The Tail Beast Cannon, which he has mastered and used twice, is an attack method that gathers his own evil power into a cannon. As for the Demon Fox Fire, it is not an ordinary fire, but a spiritual fire that invades the opponent's mind. Before, it could injure Kizaru, and it was this feature that directly affected the opponent's mind. Logia is also not immune to this attack. Of course, because of Kizaru's own strength, it is difficult for the demon fox to kill the opponent, at most it hurts him. As for the final form switch. What is this? Literally, you can switch between human form and demon fox form. However, in human form, you can't play 100% of your combat power. Fantasy Jean added. Furthermore, the human form is different from the demon fox form. For example, the 3 abilities are different. You will know when you try it. Hearing this, Chinyang immediately complied. Immediately, the huge 9-tailed demon fox gradually shrank, and after a while, it turned into a young man with a height of 1.90 meters. Fourth change. 9-tailed demon fox, human form. Star rating. Ability 1, Tailed Beast Jade. Ability 2, Demon Fox Coat. Ability 3, Form Switching. The ability has actually changed. Chinyang touched his new face and thought a little surprised. The Tailed Beast Cannon has become a Tailed Beast Jade, the Demon Fox Fire has disappeared, and it has become a Demon Fox Coat. After trying to feel the physical condition, he said again, sure enough, the combat power has dropped, and it is probably less than half of the peak. It feels similar to Ibaraki. Despite this, Chinyang was still very happy. 3-star is much better than 2-star. Anyway, let's find a land island first. Thinking like this, Chinyang took out the record pointer given by the red hair and began to identify the direction. After a while, his thoughts moved, and a demonic and transparent demon fox coat came out and wore it on his body. The next moment, he moved his right foot and stepped on the sea surface. Suddenly, the whole person burst into thorns, and flew tens of meters in the blink of an eye. Chapter 0044 This Daddy, Little ***. Compared with the first half of the Great Route, the New World in the second half is more dangerous. The geomagnetism, astronomical phenomena, ocean currents, and air currents are all chaotic. If you want to navigate here, you must rely on a special three-pointer recording pointer. The three pointers will point in different directions at the same time, and a normal person will choose the most stable one and go sailing according to its direction. But there are exceptions, such as Monkey D. Luffy 12 years later, who deliberately chose the direction in which the pointer wobbled the most. Of course Qin Yang didn't have such a leisurely mind. He wasn't afraid of danger, but he was in a forced transformation period, so he was not suitable for running around. He had to find a relatively calm island to land on and get through the transformation period. Therefore, he chose the most stable direction of the pointer. After about 4 or 5 hours at sea, Qin Yang finally landed on an island. After going to the island, Qin Yang didn't do anything. He first found a restaurant to eat to supplement his physical consumption. After ordering a lot of delicious food, Qin Yang asked the waiter, "What island is this?" When he came, he made a general observation. This port city is quite big, and the port is full of pirate ships, at least dozens of them. Therefore, Qin Yang was very curious that Marine did not care about it. This is Mysteria, one of the 3 starting islands of the New World. The waiter froze for a moment, then replied calmly. He works here, and he has seen many pirates, so he is not afraid at all. The 3 islands of the beginning. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and asked again. The waiter was not impatient, and simply said it again. The so-called starting 3 islands are the 3 islands that the record pointer first points to after entering the New World. They are Richeld, Mysteria, and the most dangerous, Isle of Thor. Punk Hasad, that Qin Yang is familiar with, it is a hidden island that is not captured by the recording pointer. Like this kind of island, there are many new worlds, and there is no magnetic field. To be precise, the magnetic field will not be captured by the recording pointer under normal circumstances. I see. Qin Yang nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Seeing this, the waiter turned and left. While waiting for the meal, Qin Yang heard the conversation of many people in the restaurant. Most of the people here are pirates, and only a few are people from the island. Boss, I was walking around town just now and heard some interesting news. Where is going buried? No, it's a welcome meeting. It seems to invite all new pirates to participate. The person who wins the first place will be named the new king. At the same time, you can also make a wish to the host. Quote. Oh, any wish will do. Probably the captain. The strong man with a beard suddenly showed an interested look. I don't know, but this welcome meeting has been held for 7 times, 4 times a year. This time is the 8th. The pirate who was inquiring about the information suddenly lowered his voice and said, the first rookie king is the current Shichibukai, Don Quixote Doflamingo. What? The captain was taken aback. What about the other 6? The other 6 rookie kings, I don't know, but the most famous is Doflamingo. I heard that this time, he will also appear, not as a participant, but as a guest. Interesting. The bearded strong man suddenly flashed a fierce light. This is an opportunity to kill Doflamingo and take his Shichibukai throne. At the same time, Qin Yang also showed curiosity. Interesting, to hear Shichibukai's name, it really took no effort. He murmured in his heart, but his face remained calm. He wanted to find Doflamingo before, but he didn't know his whereabouts. Now that he heard the news, he immediately made a decision. After that, Qin Yang listened to the rest of the conversation quietly while eating. The business of this hotel is good, the lobby is basically full, and there are at least 4 pirate groups. Therefore, Qin Yang has obtained a lot of useful information. Example, where to sign up for that welcome meeting. Anyway, he is idle. Chin Yong is going to participate. If he can, he will take the title of King of Rookies. He wants to see if the organizer can meet his requirements, such as giving him a few devil fruits. After eating a hearty meal and replenishing his strength, Chin Yong checked out and left. After leaving the hotel, he casually asked a passerby to inquire, and he knew the registration office. Soon, Chin Yong came to the place. It was a school field. There was a ring in the center. The registration point was at the door. There are a lot of people who have signed up. In a pirate group, there are multiple people signing up. It seems that everyone wants to try it. Basically, they are all pirates who have just entered the new world, and they are still very interested in this kind of conference. Before long, it was Chin Yang's turn. Sitting behind the registration desk, a thin-faced man raised his eyebrows and asked lazily, "Name?" Chin Yong was stunned, thought for a moment, then smiled, "My name is Ju." 9. The registrar was also stunned, and muttered, "It's another person who registered under a fake name, and he didn't even dare to report his real name. What else would he participate in?" Despite this, he still registered Chin Yong. Original. Huh. From which pirate group? Or some other force? The man said angrily. Well, a lonely man. Chin Yong didn't choose to call out the dream name. What about the bounty? The registrar was speechless. 0. Quote. The bounty is 0. This time, the registrar was furious. Are you courting death? How? Chin Yong asked back. Don't think it's a welcome meeting, it's really a welcome to newcomers. Those who can participate are pirates with more than 50 million at least, and there are many who exceed 100 million. If you go up like you don't know how to die. Yes. The registrar shook his head with a look of contempt. I advise you to leave quickly with your body. That's fine, just register me. Chin Yong said with a light smile. Pirates with a reward of over 100 million are placed in the first half of the Great Route, but they are also personal characters, but in the second half, there are as many pirates in the New World, and the reward is not over 100 million, and they are embarrassed to say hello to people when they go out. For example, under the 4 Emperor Pirates, a trainee crew member who runs errands has a bounty of 80 to 90 million. Anyway, I persuaded you, you can't blame me if you want to die. Registrar curled his lips and said too lazy to say. Registered, participate after 7 o'clock in the evening. Understood. Chin Yong nodded and immediately turned to leave. He was going to find a hotel to stay in first, but as soon as he entered a small alley, a group of people stopped him. Boy, was in the restaurant just now, and you were the one who snuggled up and listened to us. This person is the pirate captain in the hotel before, a strong man with a beard. At this moment, he looked at Chin Yong viciously. If you are sensible, hand over your valuables, otherwise, you don't need to attend any conference, go to the sea to feed the sharks. Hey hey hey. A group of pirates approached with a sneer. The previous crew member who was inquiring about the information immediately said, Be sensible, we don't want to be rough, our captain is a big pirate with a bounty of 144 million. Killing you is almost like killing an ant. Seeing this, Chin Yong had a strange look on his face and said calmly, Akainu doesn't dare to talk to me like this, you are also ignorant and fearless. As soon as the voice fell, he suddenly moved. Damn, do it. The captain was angry and ordered immediately. 5 minutes later. Bearded man had a bruised nose and a swollen face, and said with an apologetic smile, My lord, this little one is really damn good. You have eyes and don't know Mount Tai, just treat me like a fart, let it go. This is a small family business, please accept it. Chapter 0045_Punch Shichibukai. In the alley, a group of pirates fell into one piece, screaming in pain. The captain, a bearded man with a bruised nose and a bruised face, stood cautiously beside Chin Yong with an apologetic smile on his face, waiting for his departure. He wanted to cry but had no tears. In just a few minutes, he still didn't understand what was going on. Everyone on his side had been brought down, and even himself was beaten severely by the other party. After being beaten, he realized that he had hit an iron plate. My lord, this little one is so damn good, you don't know Taishan with your eyes. Just treat me like a fart and let me go. The bearded captain hurriedly took out his own money. This is a small family belongings, please accept it. Qin Yang glanced at him and said playfully, what is in your mouth? Ah, Beard froze and said embarrassedly, Master, I forgot if you didn't say it. This is Xiao Xiao's last Sifang money, and it is yours too. Do you think Xiao Xiao keeps it private? No, the little one really forgot for a while, how dare I? Qin Yang was too lazy to expose it, so he took a look and found that there was only 20 million in the bankbook. That's a drizzle of money, but it's better than me. After accepting the other party's apology, Qin Yang asked, what's your relationship with the Tomahawk Pirates? The Battle Axe Pirates. Beard froze for a moment, then said proudly, it's just a defeated general. So, you know the bald man. Qin Yang was surprised, no wonder the way the two of them spoke were a bit similar. Master, if the battle axe offends you, it doesn't matter to me, I just come from the same sea area as him. Beard quickly distanced himself from the relationship. Qin Yang was noncommittal, waved his hand and said, go away, next time your eyes are brighter, in the new world, with your strength, don't keep a low profile, and you will soon be thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Yes. The bearded captain nodded again and greeted his crew to flee quickly, for fear that Qin Yang would be displeased by staying for one more second. Boss, let's just forget it. A young crew member was very dissatisfied. That kid is despicable and shameless, and everyone was caught off guard by his sudden attack. Snapped. Beard slapped him hard. Idiot, you are courting death. This kind of expert will definitely observation hockey. If you talk nonsense, if you are heard, everyone will be finished. After the fight, his heart hurt even more. I've lost all my belongings, and I'm going to sleep on the street tonight. You bastard, you clearly have this kind of strength, but you deliberately say that you are offering 0 rewards, isn't this cheating? He could only think about such words in his heart, and would never dare to say them. In fact, when he was in the restaurant, he had already noticed Qin Yang, but he waited for Qin Yang to sign up to confirm that the opponent was alone and not a big pirate before he tried to grab some money, but he stole the chicken. Do not eclipse the rice. Not to mention the bearded group of people, Qin Yang found a hotel to stay after finishing such trivial matters. It wasn't until evening that he left for the venue of the orientation meeting. When he arrived, the entire campus was already crowded with people. Looking around, it's all pirates. It's a bit strange to think about it. Qin Yang stood in the crowd, looking around. What's the purpose of the organizer doing this? With so many pirates gathered together, if Marines suddenly came, wouldn't they all be turtles in a urn? As long as you have to pay attention to logic, Qin Yang does not believe that the organizer has no purpose, and it is purely for the fun of holding such a conference. Just thinking about it, a light suddenly came down, illuminating a high platform in front of the school grounds. A muscular man wearing only underwear stepped onto the high platform. He held the microphone and shouted enthusiastically, "Welcome to the New World, pirates. Stop talking nonsense, and start the orientation meeting quickly." A pirate shouted. Muscular man was not angry, but grinned, "Please rest assured, the conference will start soon. However, before the game, let us invite the new king of the First World Conference, one of the current King Shichibukai, Don Quixote. Doflamingo." As soon as the voice fell, there was a commotion on the scene. Although I knew that Doflamingo would appear, it came as a surprise at the beginning. Fur. The unique laughter sounded, and the next moment, a figure floated on the high platform. Except for Qin Yang, I am afraid that no one can see his appearance clearly. "Doflamingo," someone shouted. "Don Quixote Doflamingo, this man has short blonde hair, sunglasses, and a very fancy dress, with a pink feather coat draped over his body, like a clown." Between steps, he also took 8 character steps, his hands in his pockets, and his eyes scanned the audience. Fur. A low laugh came out of his mouth, and Doflamingo said in a low voice, "Everyone has gone through untold hardships to come to the New World. The purpose of this conference is to welcome everyone." Quote. Hearing this, Qin Yang curled his lips. He knew this person relatively well, and he was a very treacherous person. He didn't believe a word of what the other party said. "Since it is a welcome, we will use the welcome method of our pirates, so there is an orientation meeting. The winner of the meeting, the new king, will receive a wish from the organizer." Speaking of which, Doflamingo paused for a while, then smiled again. "Guess what my original wish was?" "What?" Suddenly, countless people perked up their ears. "It's the Paramecia thread fruit." Doflamingo stretched out his hands, as if embracing the world. 2 years ago, I ate this fruit, and 2 years later, my strength is enough to become King Shichibukai. Marine had to compromise with me too." He laughed and said, "This is a magical place, he can fulfill your wishes. Ahead is a dangerous new world, the sea area of the 4 emperors. You can't get along with your current strength. You can only be the winner here. Only by improving your own strength can you have a foothold. Go for it, defeat all opponents, and kill anyone who wants to rob you. Only in this way is the king." Quote. He made a speech, stirring up people's hearts and stirring up emotions. However, it was indeed successful, and many pirates had already shown signs of change, and were on guard against each other with hostility. Only Qin Yang looked as usual, calmly watching the performance of the other party. "I'll just say, how could there be such a good thing? What kind of convention? It's a pit, a trap set by Marine and Doflamingo." Thinking of this, his eyes flashed, and in an instant, a golden light flashed. The next moment, around his body, a golden demon fox coat was put on him. Whoosh! Everyone was taken aback, only to see a golden light projected from the crowd and flew up to the high platform, and then Doflamingo was directly sent flying. Boom! What? The color of the audience changed, and the sudden change caught people off guard. Doflamingo was knocked flying and smashed a shelf behind him, but the next second, he stood up suddenly, frowned on his forehead, and stared at the man shining golden light on the high platform. "Who are you?" he asked with murderous intent. Doflamingo, Shichibukai, Qin Yang stood there calmly, looking directly at each other. "Say hello to you. By the way, do one thing for me, and I'll spare your life." Hearing this suddenly, all the pirates at the scene were stunned. And among the crowd, the previous bearded man widened his eyes and said incredulously, "This master really, cruel. He even threatened Shichibukai." Chapter 0046_Scream Juyi, come and listen. Get up early and break out. You can write several chapters and more chapters, at least 4 chapters, please rest assured, and please subscribe and favorite ~O, hollow square O. Fight around me. Hearing Qin Yang's words, Doflamingo was stunned for a while, and then he laughed furiously. "Furfur, I have met all kinds of people, and it is the first time I have met someone as arrogant as you." Quote. Hearing this, Qin Yang's face was calm, and he said, "I didn't expect you to be obedient, and naturally I would use violence to make you submit. There is nothing more direct and effective than force to deal with a ruthless and treacherous character like Doflamingo. Qin Yang is too lazy to play with each other. There is an easier way. He is not interested in making trouble." "Are you trying to fight me?" Doflamingo slowly stood up straight and gently wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. "Is this your purpose of sabotaging the welcome meeting? The lives of these pirates are none of my business." Qin Yang pouted. He didn't mean to sabotage the conference. The pirates were beaten to death for an ethereal wish, and it had nothing to do with him. It's just that the target person is in front of him, so he just shoots. What if he drags it down and the other party runs away? Thinking of this, Qin Yang stopped talking nonsense and moved closer to the other party. In human form, the Demon Fox 240 coat has a terrifying increase in the power of the flesh. Whether it is speed, strength, explosive power, all indexes are even more than the 2-star Ibaraki Doji. Like a golden flash, Qin Yang was already in front of him in the blink of an eye. So fast. Doflamingo's complexion changed slightly. It could be said that he was not mentally prepared before, but when he dealt with it seriously at this moment, he realized that the speed of the other party was really lightning fast. Parasitic wire. Suddenly, Doflamingo's right hand moved, and his 5 fingers quietly posed. The next moment, Qin Yang, who was approaching, slammed a punch, but stopped suddenly before hitting him. Fu, you shot me without any scruples. This courage is very big, it's a pity. Seeing this, Doflamingo suddenly sneered. A trace of ridicule flashed in Qin Yang's eyes. He could feel that the surface of his body was entangled by dozens of invisible threads, which were trying to control his actions. Do you think this will work? I'm going to beat you up, even if the 4th Emperor is here. As soon as the voice fell, the evil power in Qin Yang's body erupted instantly. It was like the power of flame expansion, revealing the skin and instantly destroying all the threads. The next moment, the stagnant fist slammed into Doflamingo's face. What? Feeling that the silk thread he released broke, Doflamingo was shocked and showed a shocked look. You know, the strength of these threads is comparable to steel. However, the opponent didn't do anything at all to suddenly disable his ability. What the hell are you? Before the words were finished, the fist wrapped with the power of the golden demon fox had already hit his face. Boom! Immediately, the bridge of his nose collapsed, and the blood flowed non-stop. Doflamingo didn't have time to finish a sentence, and was directly beaten up. Noisy, take the fight seriously. As soon as he succeeded, Qin Yang immediately pursued the victory, stomping on the ground with his right foot, and the whole person rushed out like a beam of electric light. In the dark night, golden light flashed. Doflamingo, who was knocked upside down and flew away, had not yet landed. Qin Yang had already caught up with him, and Qin Yang stepped down suddenly in midair. Damn! At the critical moment, Doflamingo's reaction was also quite fast. He grabbed his right palm in the distance, and was immediately dragged away from Qin Yang's feet by an invisible line of sight. Boom! When his foot fell, Qin Yang stepped on the ground. Immediately, the entire ground cracked, as if it had experienced an 8th magnitude earthquake. The shock spread outward, and when it reached the high platform, the entire high platform collapsed instantly. Run! Many pirates looked horrified. This is simply a ferocious beast going wild. It's so strong. Who is this person who is pressing Shichibukai to fight? It's him. Not far away, the recorder in charge of registration during the day looked dull. Didn't you say 0 reward? He couldn't believe that the only person with a 0 reward during the day was so terrifying. Thinking of what he said during the day, he felt a little frightened. Fortunately, the other party was a big man, and he didn't care, otherwise he would die without knowing how. Run! If this person remembers and settles with me, I'll be dead. Thinking of this, the recorder ran away without daring to stay. If Qin Yang knew what he was thinking, he would definitely not know whether to laugh or cry. Although he is not a good person, he is not that cruel. Seriously, this person persuaded him just because he did not want him to die. How good is it? A group of pirates scattered like birds and beasts, but there are also many strong and powerful people who are still watching. At the same time, Doflamingo dodged a blow. Who the hell are you? What's your purpose in looking for me? Don't talk nonsense, let me beat you up first. After speaking, Qin Yang jumped up, and the distance of dozens of meters seemed to be between his jumps. Stop looking down on people. Doflamingo was furious. He backed down again and again, but the other party actually made an inch, and he was not going to keep his hands at this point. It would be nice to have it earlier. Qin Yang grinned, and with the mentality of testing the opponent's strength, he swept his foot towards the opponent's head. In close combat, Doflamingo was not afraid. He blocked with his left hand and attempted to counterattack. However, this kick hit his left hand, and a heavy mountain-like force was passed over. In an instant, before he had time to counterattack, he was directly kicked down the sky by this force. Like a meteor, streaking across the night sky, it suddenly landed in the ruins of the high platform. Boom! Smoke and dust filled the air. Qin Yang, however, was unforgiving, and without waiting for the other party to recover, he suddenly approached, his right hand stuck out, pinched Doflamingo's neck directly, and lifted him up. It's strange, why are you so weak? Qin Yang frowned, is Shichibukai this level? Asshole! Doflamingo grabbed Qin Yang's wrist and tried to break free. He was depressed to death now, and a murderer ran over for no reason and beat him up. He still didn't know where he had offended the other party. If it wasn't for the fear in his heart, he would not be so embarrassed if he was successively succeeded by the opponent at the beginning. Huh! Suddenly, Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, and he felt an abnormality. So it is, your body is hidden, this is a clone. As he said that, his perception was released, and the next moment, his eyes suddenly swept to the attic not far away. Furfur, where Doflamingo sat cross-legged, wiping the blood from under his nostrils, discovered so quickly. I'm curious, who the hell are you? Maybe we don't have to fight to death. Are you convinced? Qin Yang looked at the other party playfully. If you are convinced, just call Juyi to listen. Hearing this, Doflamingo's face darkened and he was speechless for a long time. Chapter 0047 _ This is the attitude of asking for help. If you're convinced, you have to call Juya. Qin Yang looked at the other party playfully, but he was thinking about when the other party would switch avatars. Qin Yang knows the trick of avatar. The name is Shadow Rider Line. It mainly uses countless thin silk threads to wrap around and combine to create an avatar doll. The clone doll will not be injured, but it has a considerable degree of combat effectiveness. Thinking of this, Qin Yang quickly came to the conclusion that after the opponent was punched in the nose by him, he ran away unknowingly, leaving a clone to fight with him. Ninth Master. Doflamingo narrowed his eyes. Of course he wouldn't accept it, but when he heard this, he couldn't help but search for the big pirates in the New World in his mind, and it seemed that there was no one named Ju-Yi. Furfur, Doflamingo chuckled, his eyes under the sunglasses staring deeply at Qin Yang. I haven't heard of it, which power? Of course you haven't heard of it, but you haven't heard of it now. Seeing that you're very unconvinced, then call it first. Qin Yang was very calm, and felt that there was no need to talk nonsense. Doflamingo was too scheming. If he didn't teach him a good lesson to convince the other party, he couldn't talk about things at all, and he might even be calculated in reverse. Thinking of this, Qin Yang suddenly raised his hands, and in the dark night, a dark red light flashed, and the next moment, countless evil forces gathered above his head, and instantly condensed into a red sun. Tailed Beast Jade. Seeing this scene, everyone present had a bad premonition, and a crisis of impending catastrophe came to the top of their heads. Run! I don't know who shouted first, and the pirates who were still lingering on the sidelines quickly retreated and opened the distance between them. On the attic, Doflamingo, who was sitting cross-legged, was awe-inspiring. What kind of fruit power is it? He has been thinking since just now, but he has no clue. At this moment, he was not stupid enough to stand there and wait for the opponent to call the move. He immediately jumped up, stretched his right hand back, and slammed it towards Qin Yang at the next moment. Super Strike Whip. Whoosh! Countless almost transparent silk threads spewed out from his palms, and these threads condensed into a strand, like a long whip, and slammed into Qin Yang's head. It's late. Qin Yang was unmoved. The tailed beast jade condensed between his palms was thrown out by him first. The little red sun flew out, and when it saw the wind, it rose, and in an instant it swelled to be like a big sun. When it approached the attic, a shocking explosion occurred immediately. Down-pointing arrow. Boom. MZ. There was a shock from the whole earth, and this shock could even be transmitted from here to the pier. Anyone in this town could feel the fluctuation between heaven and earth. Thin. What move is this? Doflamingo looked horrified. He was at the center of the explosion, and at the moment when the energy spread in front of him, he quickly played a large net forward. The cobweb wall. With a wave of both arms, Countless threads of silk radiated out in all directions, entwining each other and turning into a huge net. This net stretched out, as if to catch the entire dark red sun. However, just the wind and waves caused by the explosion had already passed through this net wall and violently blew the entire attic away, and Doflamingo himself was directly affected. Under the shock, he quickly fled to the rear. At the same time, the big net was wrapped around the tailed beast Jade, but it could not stop its expansion. It couldn't hold on for 2 seconds at all, and the whole big net was shattered and evaporated. The next moment, the entire dark red sun illuminates the sky. Boom! The deafening sound of the explosion swept through everything. All buildings and human beings within a radius of several hundred meters were mercilessly involved, and no one could escape the vortex of this explosion. For a while, many spectators who were too late to stay away were swallowed up. Just before being swallowed up, they could only see that the whole world seemed to be filled with a huge dark red sun. After a long time, the aftermath of this explosion gradually dissipated. At this time, the school ground was gone, the high platform was gone, the attic was gone, and all the buildings within a radius of 100 meters were razed to the ground, leaving only a ruin. Even at the center of the explosion, a huge giant appeared on the ground. Pothole. Only Qin Yang stood there, looking at the back of the original attic. Without hesitation, he walked towards the other side. As he walked, he said softly, "Don't pretend to be dead. I know this will not kill you." He stepped on the rubble and quickly reached the original attic position. At this moment, 5 invisible threads suddenly swept under a broken stone wall ahead. 5-color line. With a fury, the attack was already close to him. These 5 invisible threads are as hard as steel, and they cut through space. They were full of killing intent, as if to cut Qin Yang into 5 pieces in one go. And the strength to fight back, as expected of Shichibukai. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, surprised. A golden light flashed, and Qin Yang moved, and he avoided this invisible attack. Pat! The stone wall in front was pushed away, and Doflamingo stood up. His left body was not lightly injured, and his left hand kept dripping blood. Only half of a pair of sunglasses were broken. He looked at Qin Yang's. His eyes were filled with fear, anger, and murderous intent. "I don't even know you. How did I offend you?" he said in a low voice, with blue veins on his forehead, but he didn't dare to act rashly. The 5 color lines that had just attacked were all flashed by the opponent. In this state, it was difficult for him to be the opponent's opponent. Knowing this, he should have gone all out from the beginning. Doflamingo secretly hated himself for being too careful before, and was caught off guard by his opponent. "The extra people have left, I'll tell you directly now." Qin Yang looked at each other and said calmly, "I'm from the Dream Pirates, one of the cadres, the 9-tailed demon fox." Dream. Doflamingo was shocked. How could he have never heard of the name of the Dream? As a character who eats both black and white, he will get any valuable information in the world at the first time. There is not much information about Dream, but every one of them shocked him. That is a behemoth hidden in the dark. "Don't be so nervous, I am not trying to kill you. I have no grievances with you, why should I kill you?" Qin Yang said with relief. "It's not killing me." Doflamingo glared at the other party, the tailed beast Jade just now. If he hadn't reacted smartly and resisted most of the damage, now he can stand or not. "What's your purpose in looking for me?" Doflamingo asked stubbornly. "Please do one thing for me," Qin Yang said with a light smile. "If you do it well, it will naturally benefit you." Hearing this, Doflamingo was so angry that he vomited blood and came to him for help after a long time. Is this the attitude of asking others to help? Chapter 0048_Artificial Devil Fruit. Is this the attitude of asking others to help? Doflamingo didn't know what to say. He had seen all kinds of pirates, some weak, some hard, some haughty, arrogant, brutal, but the style was like Qin Yang's, but it is the only one, and there is no semicolon. Don't say anything, fight first, then talk after the fight. you have to show your strength and get the respect you deserve. There are other ways. Doflamingo wanted to point at Qin Yang's nose to scold these words, but his reason still made him swallow it back. What do you want me to do? After a long silence, Doflamingo gritted his teeth and said, forget it, this is not the place to talk, come with me. Saying that, he turned and walked away. The left hand was still bleeding, but he didn't say a word. Seeing this, Qin Yang took off the demon fox coat, and without hesitation, stepped forward. He is not afraid of Doflamingo's thoughts. It was 10 years ago, and the other party couldn't even achieve the awakening of the devil fruit. His strength was a little worse than the admiral level, and he was not yet at the peak, so in front of the nine-tailed demon fox, can't turn a big wave. The two came to a church-style building one after the other. Qin Yang was invited to the living room, while Doflamingo went to bandage the wound. During the period, a maid brought tea, but Qin Yang didn't drink it because he was afraid that the other party would be poisoned. The nine-tailed demon fox is an energy body, but whether it is immune to toxins is really uncertain. It is better to be cautious. Qin Yang sat silently on the sand, and it didn't take long before Doflamingo finished treating the wound and came to sit on the opposite side. Nine-tailed demon fox, are you a dream cadre? Doflamingo said as soon as he sat down. How can I trust you? How can you prove it? Need to prove it. Qin Yang laughed. Do I need to call another cadre? Or shadow demon or Ibaraki, which do you think is suitable? Hearing this, Doflamingo was speechless for a moment. A nine-tailed demon fox is already so difficult to deal with. If he comes to a cadre, he must not be pressed against the ground by the other party. Can he need as much as he wants? No, I believe it. Among the great pirates of the New World, there is no such person as you. Apart from mysterious dreams, I can't think of any force that would produce a master like you. Qin Yang waved his hand and said, don't talk nonsense with you, just get down to business. Tell me, what the hell is going on? Doflamingo returned to normal, crossed Erlang's legs, and took a serious look. The appearance of the nine-tailed demon fox is about 28 or 9 years old, a young male, with short and medium black hair, and looks handsome, except that the eyes are not human eyes, but golden fox eyes. I need a lot of devil fruits. Qin Yang said bluntly, no, it's our dream. Devil fruit. Doflamingo Vivi frowned and said, the Legion of Ability. The details, you don't need to ask, you just need to help me get it, the money will not be short of you. Qin Yang took out a passbook, put it on the table, and pushed it over. Doflamingo picked it up and took a look. 1 billion. This is the deposit, Qin Yang said. The first shot is 1 billion, and the sincerity is very good. Doflamingo believes that the other party is not here to play him, but really needs devil fruits, and there are a lot of them. Thinking of this, he suddenly smiled. Foo, this kind of thing should have been said earlier, there is no need to fight to death in business. Earlier. Qin Yang pouted and didn't show his strength. Throwing the 1 billion in the past would be like a meat bun hitting a dog. There will be no return, and it will not be solved by force at that time. Furfur, now on the black market, devil fruits are priceless. Basically, as long as they appear, they will be bought by others immediately. Doflamingo grinned. How do you want to acquire it? 100 million and one. Qin Yang said calmly. Impossible, there is a limit to joking. Doflamingo's eyes twitched, and he said dissatisfiedly, the price of a zone devil fruit will be at least 200 million, and that's still not many people competing. If it's Paramesha, which doubles depending on the type, Logia you can't buy it. Quote. Logia-capable users have the fluid characteristic, which makes the fruit value of this line increase exponentially. Even in the black market, it has never appeared. Then buy it at a price of 300 million and one. I don't care how much you got it, the difference in the middle is your reward. Qin Yang has no interest in bargaining with the other party. For him, money is relatively easy to obtain, but the devil fruit is troublesome. In fact, Qin Yang also knew very well that at the price of 300 million one coins, Doflamingo would definitely be able to make a profit. Seeing this, Doflamingo thought for a moment and agreed immediately. Okay, I'll give it to you in a month, and the trading point is still here. In a month, neither fast nor slow, it must be faster than the red-haired side. Qinyang nodded and said with a smile, very good, it's settled. After he finished speaking, he paused, pondered for a moment, and then said, this matter is here first, then, let's discuss a big business. Big deal. Doflamingo's heart moved, and he could not help but be a little curious if the nine-tailed demon fox could say the word big deal. Although he himself is very unhappy with the other person, it does not affect the transaction between the two parties. Have you heard of artificial devil fruit? Artificial devil fruit. Doflamingo instantly thought of something and nothing, and there was a slight movement in his heart. How the devil fruit came from, no one knows. The legend is that it is the secret treasure of the sea, and it was salvaged from the sea. Some people say that there is a devil fruit tree in the world, and all the fruits come from there. But artificial devil fruit, this is the first time I have heard of it. Qinyang's face was as usual, and he said, of course you don't know about 4.7, because this thing hasn't appeared yet. Then what do you mean? You dream of mastering artificial technology. It's not us, it's someone in Marine. Qinyang shook his head and said, and I need to bring this person out of Marine. Artificial devil fruit. If there is no such person in the world, then, according to the normal development, this thing will appear in 10 years. Kaido, one of the 4 emperors, even with this, formed an army of more than 500 capable people. Qinyang is not satisfied with spending money to buy devil fruits, it is best to make them directly. Thinking of this, Qinyang said seriously, for this, I need to get the title of Shichibukai. You are Shichibukai, now, you call the Marine headquarters and tell them directly that the nine-tailed demon fox is here. Chapter 0049_Blackmail Sengoku. You call the Marine headquarters and tell them that the nine-tailed demon fox is here. Hearing Qinyang's speech, Doflamingo couldn't keep up with the rhythm. The first is the artificial devil fruit. The person who masters this technology is in Marine, and the other party wants to become Shichibukai and mix into the Marine system in order to find this person. Wait, tell me first, who is this person? Doflamingo raised his hand and said, how does this deal work? I don't know who it is, so I need to join Shichibukai to investigate. Of course Qinyang wouldn't tell him directly, but said, let's reason normally, this kind of person who masters cutting-edge technology must be a member of the Marine Science Corps. The most likely one is the great scientist, Baekpunk. Not in fact, but a colleague of Baekpunk. Of course, Qinyang deliberately guided each other. Now the two are only talking about cooperation, and they haven't really cooperated yet. How can information be shared? If it wasn't for the power of the other party, he would not have said this to this person. Baekpunk, it turns out that it is indeed possible. Recently, Marine seems to be still researching how to give weapons and dead objects away to eat devil fruits. Doflamingo's eyes flashed, and he believed it for a while. I'm calling Marine headquarters now, how can you be sure that Sengoku will allow you to join? You don't need to worry about it. Furfur, then I'm more interested. With a grin, Doflamingo let out a hoarse laugh. After a while, he had someone bring a phone and directly contacted Marin Fodor. After saying a few words, he handed over the phone to Qinyang. Nine-tailed demon fox. It's me. Qinyang laughed when he heard Sengoku's voice. I was really taken care of by your Marine during the day. Hearing this, there was silence on the opposite side, which was considered to confirm the identity of the nine-tailed demon fox. Know about Marine's arrest of Ibaraki during the day, there can be no third party other than the parties involved. Seeing that the other party didn't speak, Qinyang sneered. It's really worth our dreams, just arresting one of our ordinary members, and dispatching 2 admiral members. If it wasn't for the special means between our members, you really succeeded. What do you want? Sengoku snorted coldly, not weakly. What else can we do? You are in the first year of junior high, and of course we are in the 15th. Qin said calmly, there are at least hundreds of your marine bases outside. I won't destroy too many, 30, I will find time to raise your 30 overseas bases to the ground. Now let me know. You say, let you prepare early, if you want to resist can you be busy? You. Sengoku's face changed greatly, and his heart palpitated. Admiral level strength of the nine-tailed demon fox to attack an overseas base can kill one with a single shot, and their marines are unable to defend unless they know in advance which base the opponent will attack, and then send a large army to confront them. But this is unrealistic. Most of Marine's energy is involved in the New World. Before two admirals could catch one Ibaraki, it was already a special situation. Hearing his words, Doflamingo, who was sitting across from him, couldn't help being stunned. Dared to threaten Martial Marine, and he was so confident that he had to admit that the man in front of him was very courageous. And listening to his words, it seems that he also fought against Marine and two admirals, and successfully escaped. If you think about it carefully, this person is just a cadre of Dream. I'm afraid Dream, the pirate group, has the fighting power of the four Emperor pirates. Doflamingo suddenly shed a cold sweat. Wonderful, who knows what monster is standing behind you? At this time, Sengoku finally opened his mouth, he took a deep breath, and didn't mess up because of Qin threat. Tell me, what do you want? If you really want to make a move, you won't specifically notify me. The old god Qin was there, and he said calmly, it's not a fool who can get into the martial. But your actions have seriously frightened our Dream members. This is a provocation, and it is tantamount to war. If you don't do it, what should we order? How should the rest of our members go out in the future? What kind of compensation do you think will allow us to turn our battles into jade and silk? Quote. A series of questions made Sengoku very uncomfortable. He is Martial Marine. When was he so threatened by a pirate? If he was an ordinary person, he would just send troops to kill him. Taking a deep breath, he calmed down and said solemnly, don't worry, we Marine will not shoot you again. What's the use of verbal words? Let's be practical. Qin rolled his eyes. Shichibukai, I promise you that one of your members will be Shichibukai. Fortunately, Sengoku spread out. As long as you have the title of Shichibukai, you don't have to worry about Marine dealing with you again. It's so, but it's not enough. Qin thought about it for a while, then smiled and said, another 1 billion compensation will be paid as mental damages. Impossible. Sengoku was furious. Money is a trivial matter. Only 1 billion, it is not worth it, but Marine paid the pirates money. This behavior is a big deal. Even if he is a marshal, he would not dare to agree. This is about the face of Marine, the world government. Then there's nothing to talk about. Our little brother Ibaraki was so frightened that he couldn't eat recently, so we just asked him to go to your Marine bases to play. Qin 317 smiled and said, not afraid of Sengoku turning his face. And hearing this, Sengoku was really uncomfortable, being pinched at his weak spot, leaving him nowhere to use his strength. Not that he can't afford the destruction of 30 Marine bases, but that once this happens, if it is not handled properly afterwards, it will cause a chain reaction. Dreamy people hit Marine base, but there is nothing wrong, then other pirates will follow suit. At that time, maintaining world peace will be a joke. I see, I promise you. Sengoku let out a long sigh and said with a headache, 1 billion compensation, this is a private transaction and cannot be rumored. Of course, how can I get along with money? Extorting Sengoku, Qin is in a good mood, but at the same time he has to sympathize with the other party. The higher the status, the more things he has to worry about, and it is pitiful to be restrained in doing things. Other than that, Sengoku said at this time, one of your cadres must be Shichibukai, and we don't accept ordinary members. Well, Qin thought for a while and confirmed that there were no traps, then nodded and said, no problem, I will take over this matter, then I will take up this position. Well, tomorrow's news, I will announce this news to the outside world. Humph. With an angry grunt, Sengoku hung up the phone with a snap. He was really aggrieved, and he could anger himself to death if he said one more word. Damn dream. Chapter 0050_King Shichibukai. After hanging up the phone, Chin-young looked up at Doflamingo. Get it done. Fur, I admire it. Doflamingo chuckled and complimented. You are the first who can threaten Sengoku and make Sengoku agree with his teeth. Don't pretend, I know all about your past, this flattery doesn't make any sense. Chin-young waved his hand, unmoved. He slowly got up from the sofa, looked directly at the other person, and said, I will become Shichibukai after that, and we will talk about cooperation after the identity of that person is confirmed. Hearing this, Doflamingo Vivi narrowed his eyes. If it is a general partner, he will not give in easily when it comes to things like artificial devil fruits, but the nine-tailed demon fox just beat him up, and he doesn't dare to think about it now. Fur, no problem, if you need any help, I'll be happy to help you. With a light snort, Chin-young walked to the window and unlocked the window. Then he glanced back at the other party and said, your mission now is to help us buy enough devil fruits, and I will be here again in a month. If you don't have it by then, buy yourself a coffin. Leaving a sentence, the next moment, Chin-yang's golden demon fox coat flashed all over his body, and with a slight jump, the whole person directly escaped and disappeared. When he left, Doflamingo's smile faded suddenly, the veins on his forehead trembled, obviously not low in anger. However, despite his anger, he did not vent it, but quickly regained his composure. Can't be offended, huh, dreamy. On the sofa, Doflamingo clenched his fists and secretly said, the new world is like a cloud, my combat power is not enough, I have to try to awaken. After Chin-young left Doflamingo's residence, he directly found a small hotel to check in. All night, he worked hard to cultivate hockey. Compared with before, he could faintly feel a certain spirit, and it appeared and disappeared from time to time. It's still a little short. If you want to quickly master hockey's method, you still need to play against the masters. The next day, morning. Tens of thousands of news birds, housed by the Marines, fly over the world. Thick stacks of newspapers are constantly being thrown away, and after people get the newspapers, they will give Newsbird 100 Bailey in good faith to pay for it. Most of the news in this pile is the update of the wanted order and some pirates with new bounties. UWBU. A real newspaper, only the last big one. Wei Shui. On this morning, in the tavern, in the courtyard, in the church, on the ship, all kinds of people saw the world news of the past week. HC. On the front page of the news, it was named the most conspicuous position, that place, with 7 photos. To be precise, it is not 7 photos, but 5 portraits of characters, and 2 mysterious black head frames with question marks. Your Majesty Shichibukai. Above the frame of the 7 heads, such a title is written. Countless people have doubts in their hearts, but many people realize what this is. The King Shichibukai is composed of 7 great pirates recognized by the world government. Each of these 7 people has catastrophic destructive power, and a huge combat power that is enough to destroy a country with the power of one person. First place, Don Quixote Doflamingo, the original bounty of 340 million, the captain of the Don Quixote pirates. Second place, Shaw Crocodile, the original bounty of 81 million, the captain of the Kuro pirates. The third place, Dracula Mahawk, nicknamed Hawkeye, the world's largest swordsman. The fourth place, Gecko Moria, the original bounty of 320 million, the captain of the zombie pirates. The fifth place, Seaman, Jinbei, the original bounty of 250 million, the captain of the Fishman pirates. All over the world, countless people have seen the avatars of these 5 people in the information introduction below the avatars. It was actually found by Marine. 7 great pirates, even the world's #1 swordsman Hawkeye has joined. Although new forces are born at any time in the new world, an organization of this level is enough to affect the world pattern. Some are envious, some are emotional, and some are ridiculed. Huh, Shichibukai, the lackeys of the world government. Good pirates are not good, but go to be mad dogs. It is rumored that the government has given Shichibukai privileges to loot legally, and there are a lot of conveniences. By the way, who are the two behind? The sixth person, Tyrant, Bartholomew Bear, Avatar ? Original bounty 296 million. The seventh person, the nine-tailed demon fox, has a question mark on his avatar, and the original bounty is 0. Huh, neither of them has an avatar. Could it be made up by Marine? Tyrant, this guy is very famous. He is a ruthless pirate who is domineering and domineering. He has monster-level combat power. It is rumored that he once destroyed a Marine fleet by himself. He hated Marine very much. I didn't expect it to become Shichibukai. Quote. As for the last one, nobody knows. The whole world, except for a few people, has no clue about the nine-tailed demon fox. Even the four Emperor's pirates were at a loss when they saw the news at the moment. You didn't even give me an avatar. Qinyong also saw the news. He got up early and bought a newspaper. Now he is sitting in the tea house with Erlang's legs crossed, enjoying it leisurely. However, it is probably to warn the pirates of the New World to announce it to the world so quickly. Qinyong touched his chin and put himself into Sengoku's position, and immediately guessed a few points. It seems that Marine is also a miserable mess. The era of the great pirates started 12 years ago. Absolute disadvantage. Now we need to borrow the power of pirates to fight against pirates. Quote. Shaking his head, Qinyong then looked down. The headline of the news, in addition to introducing the official establishment of Shichibukai, also issued a summoning order at the end. Gather 7 people to the Marine headquarters, and the gathering time is 5 days later. Seeing this, Qinyong suddenly lost interest. Throwing the news aside, he took 1,000 Baileys and got up and left the tea house. What kind of assembly? Qinyong is too lazy to go. He only needs the title and the various privileges and conveniences that the title brings. As for the obligations, Marine still wants to direct him and dream. Continue to go deeper into the New World. After a month, come back to complete the transaction, and then go to Marine to get 1 billion compensation. After making a decision, Qinyong came to the port, found a pirate ship that was about to set sail, and easily mixed in. Hey, did you see a figure just now? No, are you dazzled? Hurry up and leave. During the conversation, the two sailors moved the last cargo to the pirate ship. Soon, the ship raised its sails, hoisted the pirate flag, and sailed towards the sea. Chapter 0051 _ The Way to Rise. The pirate ship slowly left the port, and all the crew members were relieved. I can finally leave this ghost place. It's too dangerous. One person couldn't help saying. Yeah, fortunately we ran fast last night, otherwise we would be affected by the battle between that man and Shichibukai. Saying that, someone shuddered. This morning, more than a dozen corpses were dug out of the ruins. They were all people who ran too slowly last night, or who were too strong to leave. Instead, they were there to watch the battle. By the way, who is that man? Has a grudge against Doflamingo? Who knows, boss, what do you think? Several pirates looked at the captain, a strong man with a beard. Captain stood on the bow, looking out at the sea area ahead, in high spirits. Whoever he is, he stole our money, and we will settle the account with him later. Now, let's find a target and loot. As he spoke, the captain turned around, but he was only halfway through his movements, but his eyes just saw a figure, and his eyes suddenly widened, showing a look of astonishment. The figure was sitting on the cabin, overlooking the sea in front of him from a height. Seemingly noticing the captain's gaze, the man Vivi lowered his head. 113 was startled at first, and then showed a playful expression. Seeing the other party's smile, the captain was even more frightened. That's it, he was beaten up when he saw this smile yesterday. Boss, a crew member asked quickly, what's the matter with you? This sentence reminded the captain that on his beard-covered face, he suddenly squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. This Lord, why are you on a small boat? This person was the pirate captain who tried to rob Qinyang yesterday, but was repaired in turn and sent an apology. Qinyang sat on the top leisurely, holding a piece of fruit that he had just caught, and nibbled lightly. At this moment, all the crew members discovered his existence, and all of them suddenly turned pale with fright. Monster! Captain, let's run, he's coming for revenge. Where are you going? This is the sea. A group of pirates panicked. They had seen the battle last night. They didn't even have the mind to fight, and they just wanted to escape for the first time. Shut up! The bearded captain shouted angrily, and then his face quickly changed to a smirk. Master, what are you looking for? He doesn't think the other party is here to seek revenge, otherwise he would have done it earlier. I won't let them go yesterday. P3_pen_ seeing that he wasn't an idiot, Qinyang raised his eyebrows and said, it's just on the way, don't worry about it. By the way, can you drop by on my boat? Bearded man couldn't help but slandered, but he didn't dare to say it, so he had to smile bitterly. Master, last time I was really young and didn't know Mount Tai. We definitely have no intention of revenge, we have already recognized our fault, and we have no complaints. Even Shichibukai is no match for you, how dare we have any ideas? Quote. Hearing this, Qinyang looked at him calmly. My name is the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox, you can just call me Juya. After thinking about it, Qinyang couldn't help but say, I'll ask you a few questions, please answer them well. Yes, Juya. Beard nodded hurriedly, and then he was shocked, and then said in awe, Jujuju, Nine-Tailed Demon Fox Shichibukai. People present had seen the morning news, and they had already kept in mind the official establishment of Shichibukai and the current 7 members. Although there is no avatar photo, the mystery of the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox Zero Bounty is still remembered by countless people. Beard is one of them. Hearing Qinyang's self-reported name at this moment, he was shocked. I ask you, Qinyang frowned and said, where is the next stop for your sailing? I don't know, Beard replied quickly, not daring to hide, we are just sailing according to a general direction and route. Our ultimate goal is to enter the sea area ruled by the 4 emperors Whitebeard, and then join Whitebeard's command. Joining Whitebeard is it up to you? Qinyang rolled his eyes. Beard also said embarrassedly, perhaps in the eyes of a strong person like you, the New World is no different from the first half, but for us in the New World, we cannot survive without joining one of the forces. Listen to you, you know the New World well, isn't it the first time? No, I have a big brother who is also in the New World and joined an organization, so he told me a lot of news. So it is. Qinyang was stunned, and suddenly became interested, is it Whitebeard? Now the strongest force in the world, just go to see it. Thinking of this, Qinyang waved his hand and lay down directly. I'm resting, don't disturb me if it's all right. Yes. Qinyang lay down and basked in the sun, closing his eyes and resting, but his consciousness was communicating fantasy genes. Fantasy. What's the matter? The voice was cold, like a dead thing. How long is the forced transformation period left? 4.5 days. 4.5 days. Qinyang pondered for a moment, then turned to ask, I have been starting a new transformation before, so I don't know how to improve the star rating. You can talk about it. Upgrading the star requires mysterious power. Taking devil fruits as an example, to upgrade from 2 to 3 stars requires 2 or 3 devil fruits. Fantasy genes are as rigid as programs. Qinyang understood it, but he had a headache. What about 3-star to 4-star, and 4-star to 5-star? The former requires 4 to 6, and the latter requires 8 to 12. Speaking of which, Fantasy Gene paused before saying, also, 5-star promotion requires a special condition, and then you will naturally know. What do you mean? From 4 stars to 5 stars, besides the devil fruit, do you need anything else? Qinyang was stunned. You'll know when the time comes. Fantasy Gene seemed too lazy to explain, just said, 4-star and 5-star are 2 powerful concepts. If a host transforms into 5-star, it will be considered the 4 emperors of this world. I can't help you. Hearing this, Qin Yang couldn't help but be moved, thinking that he should be promoted to a 5-star first, as a top combat power. Just as I was thinking about it, I suddenly remembered a panicked voice around me. No, it's impossible, this is just the waters near the 3 islands, why are the 4 emperor pirates here? That flag is the 4 emperors big, MOM. Hearing these voices, Qin Yang opened his eyes and looked around. Sure enough, there was a big ship far ahead. 4 emperors. Chapter 0052 Big Mom Pirates. Hearing the noise from the outside world, Qin Yang stood up and looked into the distance. In the extreme distance of the sea level, the shadow of a ship could be vaguely seen. Qin Yang narrowed his eyes, and Vivi, the pupil of the golden fox eyes, shrank, and he could see a lot. It was a pirate ship with a small displacement, similar to the one at the foot, with a pirate flag, a hat on the skull, and a large red mouth painted on it. It was indeed the flag of the 4 emperors Big Mom. Huh, why does it feel so broken? A hint of doubt flashed in Qin Yang's heart, because the distance was too far. Even if the 9-tailed demon fox was transformed, he couldn't see it clearly. All you can see is that the ship seems to have been attacked and looks a bit broken. Who is so daring to attack the ship of the 4 emperors? Qin Yang was curious and immediately ordered down, turn the direction and approach the ship. Ah, a sailor was dumbfounded. What did you say? Ju Yi, that is the ship of the 4 emperors. Beard was also sluggish, and said quickly, Ninth Master, you may not know that the New World is very chaotic right now. If you meet a pirate group you don't belong to, you will be regarded as a hostile force. One Piece King of Pirates Gul D. Roger was executed 12 years ago, and a sentence before his death started the era of the great pirates. Countless pirates have poured into the Great Route, and the best among them are also stirring up the storm in the New World. And from these numerous pirates, the 4 emperors stood out. The melee has lasted for 10 years, and now the New World barely has a rough division of the sea, but this does not mean that everyone coexists peacefully, and the firefight is still happening at any time. In this regard, Qin Yang looked calm and said, Don't let me repeat it for the 3rd time, get close to that ship. As for the problem, I will keep you all safe. After a pause, he couldn't help but glance at the other party with contempt. With your guts, how can you get a reward of over 100 million? Pirates of this level are also supernovas in the first half. Hearing this, Beard was embarrassed. The more he knew, the more timid he became. He knew very well that when a supernova was placed among the major forces in the New World, it was all cannon fodder. In the first half, if the reward is more than 100 million, it is called a supernova. In the New World, there is no 500 million bounty, and I dare not call myself a big pirate. Among them, the first-class level is as high as 1 billion. As for the powerhouse of the 4 emperors, the bounty can no longer be measured. But when he thought that Qin Yang was Shichibukai, his beard became a little more courageous. He nodded immediately and said, Yes, listen to Juya's orders. Get ready to take the helm and get close to that ship. He shouted at the sailor. Soon, the boat turned 90 degrees and approached the ship of the 4 emperors. It didn't take long for the 2 ships to pick up the ship, and Qin Yang could see each other's face clearly. The whole ship was apparently under serious attack, the deck was in tatters, the sails had several large holes, and there were several rips. On the deck, in addition to a few corpses, there were many people lying crookedly. It was really attacked. Who is so bold? Qin Yang looked at it carefully, and his curiosity became more and more intense. At this moment, on the deck, a short man slowly got up. He seemed to be seriously injured. Vivi frowned when he looked up to see Qin Yang's group. Finally met someone quack, cough. He coughed twice, coughing up a lot of blood. Master, I'm a fighter of the Bim Mom Pirates, Peckhams, the pirates on the opposite side. Now Master wants to temporarily requisition your ship. Who is your captain? Let me. He came up to talk. The man had a lion head, black sunglasses, and his blonde hair exploded into a ball, looking rather comical. After hearing his words, the bearded captain suddenly shuddered. Peckham's, the bounty is 300 million, the people of Big Mom, that's right. He looked at Qin Yang, and could only cast his eyes for help. The rest of the pirates were also scared away. The name of the four emperors was too deterrent. Even if the other side looked dying, they dared to have any presumptuousness. Qin Yang is calm. If Big Mom himself is here, he might have to be a little more polite. After all, the soul fruit ability is more troublesome, but even a mere combatant dares to be presumptuous. You said you want to requisition this ship. Qin Yang looked at the other side teasingly. You answer me a few questions. Ju Yi, I'm happy, maybe I'll save your life. What? Peckham's bared his teeth and glared fiercely. Who are you? Sign up. Juya, my name is the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox. Nine-Tailed Demon Fox. HMPH, I haven't heard of it before. How come the little pirates don't even know the prestige of the four emperors? Peckham's was furious, and if he hadn't been badly wounded now, he would have killed the unknowing thing with one punch. Qin Yang crossed Erlang's legs and looked down. As the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox you can call. It's called Ju Yi. You seek death. Peckham's was instantly mad. It was really a tiger who fell and Pingyang was bullied by a dog. A phoenix with feathers is not as good as a chicken. In a fit of rage, he shot out angrily. With one punch, he immediately had a majestic fist, and his entire right arm turned into a black, lethal force. Armament hockey. Qin Yang shook his head, always feeling that any capable pirate would do this. However, the other party was obviously not going to destroy the ship. This punch locked him. He jumped up and jumped, and the punch was already in front of him. Fox coat. Qin Yang's eyes narrowed, and suddenly, a layer of golden power enveloped his right arm, and the next moment, he punched head-on. Boom! The two fists collided, and the fists collided. After a loud noise, there was a burst of impact. The two ships hit by the impact kept swaying, as if they would roll over at any time. What? Peckham's complexion changed slightly. He never imagined that the other party would have such strength. Just as he was about to retreat with a single blow, Qin Yang turned his fist into a palm and clasped his wrist. The next moment, he was swept around by a strong force and smashed to the deck. Boom! Peckham's. At this moment, a 13 or 14-year-old boy on the deck exclaimed. The man was pale, and looked like he hadn't eaten for a few days. He was weak and vain. Qin Yang looked at this man. Who are you? Stared at by the golden fox eyes, the boy was startled and said quickly, Don't shoot at us, I'm Charlotte Keen, the 27th son of the four Emperor Charlotte Linlin. As long as you save us once, we will definitely there is a great reward. Hearing this, Qin Yang's eyes suddenly lit up and he laughed. So that's the case, the son of the fourth emperor, don't know how much it is worth. Hearing this laughter, Charlotte Keen's eyes widened in disbelief. You want to arrest me? Chapter 0053_blackmail the four emperors. Are you going to arrest me? Charlotte Keen's eyes widened, looking at Qin Yang in disbelief. Hearing that he was the son of the four emperors, he dared to have such a thought. It was audacious. Suddenly, he thought of something, and agitated, Are you with the group of people a few days ago? That group of people. Qin Yang seized the point and asked, Who attacked you? Don't worry, I'm not in the same group as those people. I won't kill you, just ask your mother for a little money. Hearing this, Charlotte Keen's heart was a little certain, but she just wanted to take him as a hostage, indicating that her life was not in danger for the time being. Thinking of this, he immediately replied, I don't know who the group knew. They met at sea. Peckhams were besieged by several of them and injured. Another combatant was killed. They wanted to capture me, but Peckhams desperately died. Protect me and let us escape. The other three people from the four emperors? Qin Yang asked again. No. Charlotte Keen who answered him, but Peckhams who was flying around by Qin Yang. The lion's head looked at Qin Yang with full of alertness, and said, It should come from other forces. The four emperors' pirates represent the top four major forces in the New World, but below this, there are many other forces targeting the position of the four emperors. Among these forces, there are also masters, even admiral level. The New World is very big, and there are many kinds of bulls, ghosts, snakes and gods. Qin Yang nodded, accepting the explanation, but he didn't fully believe it. In fact, he was just curious about what happened to the other party. Now, he just wants to capture the son of the fourth emperor, and then ask Charlotte Linlin for a ransom. Money can never be too much. Probably seeing Qin Yang's thoughts, Peckham said solemnly, "Stop dreaming, your mother will not be threatened by you. I advise you to send us to the Big Mom Sea area, and we will naturally give you a share." Remuneration. "That's right," the little boy said immediately. "As long as you send me back, I can give you a handsome reward. Even, you are so strong, I can let my sister marry you and join us Big Mom pirates. Group marriage." Hearing this, Qin Yang snorted, "You are a 27-year-old son, and you promised me that you are the master." The four emperors. Charlotte Linlin is the only woman among the four emperors. But this woman is extremely ugly, and she is not taboo. If I remember correctly, this woman has 43 husbands, 39 daughters, and 46 sons. She is simply a rebel harem, and her daughters are often used to marry and win over other forces. Because of this, she has an incomparably huge four-emperor level force. Stop talking nonsense, and arrest them all for me. Qin Yang looked at the beard, thought for a while, and then said, "Forget it, just catch that boy and that lion head, and don't care about the others." This, Beard refused. He didn't want to get involved in the confrontation between Shichibukai and the four emperors. However, under Qin Yang's warning eyes, he had to act obediently. In the face of this situation, Peckham's resisted Naihe was easily suppressed by Qin Yang. This fighter of the four emperor pirates, if it was in its prime, Qin Yang would have to spend a lot of money, but the injury was so serious that Qin Yang would have suppressed it. After the busy work, the two were tied up with 5 flowers and locked into the storage room on the lower level of the cabin. At this moment, the bearded captain came over, licked his face and said with a smile, "Juya, look, I don't dare to think too much about my small arms and legs. I'll bring you to the shore later, do you? Can you let the little ones leave?" He was afraid. If the person who caught the four emperors came, if the other party came to the door, his little pirate group would be slapped to death by the other party. "What are you afraid of? You can't be so timid." Qin Yang glanced at him and said calmly, "The sky is falling, and I'm still holding on to it." "I'm afraid you can't stand it, you idiot." Bearded scolded inwardly, but still smiled on his face. "That is, Juya is very powerful, it's just. Stop talking nonsense and start the boat quickly." Qin Yang waved his hand, too lazy to pay attention to him. At this time, he couldn't help but miss the bald man who was imprisoned in the deep-sea prison. As a bastard, the bald man is much more competent. There was nothing to say at the moment, and the pirate ship continued to sail in the direction of the recording pointer. Qin Yang also stopped by the storage room and interrogated Charlotte Keene. He wanted to find out how to get in touch with Charlotte Linlin, but they both lost a phone bug. Think about it too, if there were phone bugs, they wouldn't be so miserable, they would have contacted them long ago. Where would they wait for him to pick up a bargain? "This is a little troublesome, how can I get in touch?" Back in the captain's room, Qin Yang couldn't help thinking, also, how much ransom is appropriate? 500 million. 1 billion. 2 billion. The pirate ship sailed at sea for 4 days and encountered many problems during that time. The sea area of the New World is more amazing than the first half, and sometimes the recording pointer will be wrong. Fortunately, the navigators on board were somewhat experienced, so it took more time to finally reach the next island. This island is familiar to Qin Yang, named Dressrosa. It's a bit like Spain, a tropical island with a holiday style. Food, clothing, and culture all have a certain sense of sight. It is now 1510, and the rulers here are still the Liku royal family, but 2 years later, Doflamingo will take aim here, build it as a base, and become the new king. Not only that, 10 years later, Doflamingo also set up a factory to manufacture artificial zone devil fruit, Smile. Would you like to do some damage and get some flamenco? When landing, Qinyong pondered this question. Let's put it aside for now, or contact Big Mom first. Thinking of this, he immediately ordered, take those 2 people ashore, and let's go ashore. Then, let someone buy a phone bug. Yes, Master Ju. The bearded captain had already accepted his fate and could only obey his orders. In fact, Qinyong owns one of the phone bugs, but it was given to him by Red Hair, and he didn't want to use it. After that, a group of pirates and 2 hostages went ashore. They first found a restaurant and went to the private room. In the room, Qinyong got a newly bought phone bug, which is not cheap. While stroking, he looked at Charlotte Keene and the 2, and said, tell me, what's your mother's number? Hearing this, the son of the 4th emperor, who was imprisoned, obediently reported his number. Soon, Qinyong made a call, and after a while, it was connected. Who is it? On the other end of the phone came a clear female voice. It doesn't matter who I am. Qinyong said with a chuckle. 4 Emperor's Big Mom, your son is in my hands now, and if you want him to live, you can redeem it with 10 billion. Hearing this, the 0.2 head of the phone fell silent. After a while, the female voice came. Is it Keene? She said nonchalantly. It's up to you, the guy is dead. No, Charlotte Keene hurriedly shouted. My dear sister, you can't do this to me. Huh, Qinyong frowned. Aren't you Big Mom? Ask your mother to answer the phone. Snapped. The phone just hung up. Qinyong was instantly exasperated. Little girl, I still can't cure you. Saying that, he glared at Charlotte Keene as he dialed the phone again. How do you guys usually treat your sister? Relationships are so bad. Hearing this, Charlotte Keene was very embarrassed and said hesitantly, well, it's nothing I just often introduce her to people. How old is your sister? Qinyang's expression was a little subtle. 11 years old. Beast. Qinyang was immediately speechless. Chapter 0054 Shichibukai Gathering _ I saw the book review saying that this is to accept the ant's daughter, but I won't accept it just the ant's appearance hollow square Qinyang continued to call, however, the other side seemed determined not to talk, and hung up after answering 3 times in a row. Your sister really doesn't care about your life. Qinyang couldn't help but look at Charlotte Keene. In this regard, Charlotte Keene is also full of sadness, it seems so. As he said that, he was afraid that Qinyang would cut him off in a fit of anger, so he quickly said, Juya, you can call again at another time, and someone will answer you. In order to save his life, this guy even shouted out Juya. Qinyang was noncommittal and instructed the bearded captain, take a good look at these 2 people. Okay, Master Ju. Beard nodded helplessly. Fortunately, Peckham's has been injured and dragged on for a long time. Now the injury is getting worse and he has no power to escape. As for Charlotte Keene, this person does not have much fighting power. Even he can suppress it, so there is no need to worry too much. The 2 escaped. For the time being, Qinyang sat alone in the private room, wondering if he should let the Ying 15 demon go face to face with Big Mom. After thinking about it, it doesn't seem right. The soul fruit is a little troublesome, and the shadow demon is not necessarily immune. Charlotte Linlin, the 4 emperors, is a paramesha soul fruit person who has the power to deal with other people's souls at will, and can even extract other people's lifespans. Huan, can shadow demon be immune to soul extraction? Yes. Qinyang was a little surprised. Is it immune to attacks on the soul? The shadow demon does not have the concept of a soul, it's just an aggregate of shadows, and it is naturally immune. Not only the shadow demon, but also the 9-tailed demon fox can be partially immune, but Ibaraki Doji and Sea Dragon are not immune. So it is. Qinyang nodded and said to himself, in that case, just send the shadow demon directly. The forced transformation period is almost over, and he can use the shadow demon's abilities at any time. However, the shadow demon cannot be used for a long time during the day, so it can only wait until night. Next, Qin ordered a sumptuous lunch. At night, when the forced transformation period ended, he stayed in the hotel room, preparing to go to the island where Charlotte Linlin was. The Big Mom Sea area, in the southwest direction, is quite far away. I don't know if it can be successful. I thought so. He slowly closed his eyes, and the next moment, his consciousness appeared in the starry sky map. J. The sky is full of stars, I don't know how many. Qin locked the direction, found a very bright light spot, and was about to use space jump. M. At this moment, another bright star point exudes a special feeling. That's the star point that represents Sengoku. Qin muttered in surprise. Usually, he took the initiative to invade the star point, and the star point in turn had some kind of change, but it was the first time he met. Han, what's the situation? The reason for this is because at this moment, the person represented by the stars is speaking your name. Fantasy Jean explained. This is one of the characteristics of shadow demons, full-star shadow demons. As long as anyone in the world says the name, shadow demon, you will feel it. But the host is now 2 stars level, not so strong perception, so it can only be detected in a conscious state. Quote. There is such a hidden feature, why didn't you say it earlier? Qin couldn't help but slander. Interesting, what is Sengoku talking about? Qin couldn't help being a little curious, and immediately put Big Mom aside, and his consciousness invaded the star point representing Sengoku. The next moment, after a slight dizziness, he was already at Marineford. Marine headquarters, the top floor of the ancient building engraved with the characters of justice. In a splendid large conference hall, a group of people sat around a long square table. On both sides of the long table, there are 7 welcome high chairs, but only 6 people sit on one side, and 7 Marine Vice Admiral people sit on the other side. As for the main seat, Marshal Sengoku took his seat calmly, his expression was not very good, and his eyes were fixed on the vacant chair. HMPH, it didn't come. This guy, he said through gritted teeth, with a hint of anger. Fur. Doflamingo let out a series of low laughs, the 9-tailed fox is absent. Saying that, he glanced at the other 5. Sand Crocodile, Bartholomew Bear, Dracula Mahawk, Seaman Jinbei, Gecko Moria. 5 are Shichibukai. At this moment, one of the huge, weird-looking men let out a weird smile. He, Sengoku, who is this 9-tailed demon fox? I've never heard of it before, the frame is bigger than me. In this regard, Sengoku's face was ashen, and he didn't say a word. The first time Shichibukai called, there was one person who didn't come. How will Marine lead Shichibukai in the future? It was Doflamingo, who grinned and said, Fur, Gecko Moria, I advise you not to provoke him, or you will definitely be beaten. What did you say? Gecko Moria frowned, looking bad. Do you want to fight me? Enough. Sengoku scolded and said solemnly, leave him alone, the situation of the 9-tailed demon fox is quite special. Next, let's start the topic of this collection. First, it's about the dreamy, 327 shadow demon. This person was not long ago. Infiltrate the Holy Land and killed Tenryubito. At this moment, under the eyes of more than a dozen people, a black smoke drifted by, and the next moment, around this black smoke, countless dark forces condensed and turned into a dark figure. A figure appeared on the long square table, and he sat down casually, looking directly at Sengoku. Who? A Vice Admiral's expression changed slightly, and he stood up. Qin glanced at him and said calmly, aren't you guys talking about me? I'm here. Go on. Shadow Demon. Hearing this, several Vice Admiral's expressions were horrified. Sengoku also widened his eyes, showing an incredible look. Only then did he speak, and the Shadow Demon appeared mysteriously. If there was no connection at all, he would not believe it. Unless it has been hidden in the dark, but no matter how you think, it is impossible. Everyone here is a master, and it is impossible to really not notice it at all. How did you get here? Sengoku was dignified. Interesting question. Chin-Yong chuckled lightly. In the darkness, only his eyes were clearly visible. Marine headquarters, I can come and leave if I want. As soon as these words came out, everyone present, including the 6 Shichibukai, raised their eyebrows, surprised by the arrogance of the shadow demon. Now, please continue. Chapter 0056_Furious Big Mom. It is a huge project to get where you want through the star map. When he was on 9 Snake Island, Chin-Yong spent a whole night in order to enter the Holy Land Mariajoy. However, this time, he was even more surprised. Once, just once, he came to Cake Island. Not only that, but the character he targeted was none other than Bim Mom himself. At this time, Chin-Yong was reclusive in the shadows, observing the room. The room was very large, but rather dark, with no light except for a few dim candles on the wall. In the big room, there is an extraordinary large table, which is filled with all kinds of desserts, and beside the table is a chair, and the person sitting on the chair is the 4 Emperors' Big Mom. This man is huge, several times the size of a normal human being. At this moment, he is lying on the table, with his mouth wide open, dripping with corrosive saliva, while grabbing the cake and trying to send it to his mouth. It's really Big Mom. Chin-Yong hid in the shadows, but his heart was lost in thought. It's hard to believe, how low is this probability? 1 in 100 million. 327 star points, including human beings all over the world. Even if there is a rough direction choice, it is impossible to reduce the probability to 1 success. It's not a matter of probability, it's a matter of stars. The brighter the stars, the stronger the characters they represent. Chin-Yong couldn't help but think so, but quickly denied the guess. It's not just a matter of strength. People with strong strength will indeed be much brighter. It should be a combination of factors, including fame, wealth, strength, power, etc. The specific reason is that Chin-Yong has not been able to make an accurate judgment, but he believes that this idea is generally correct. Forget it, think about it later, and do business first. Thinking of this, Chin-Yong was about to speak. Charlotte Linlin, who was enjoying sweets, made a move. She frowned, and after a while, she let out an unpleasant laugh. Strange, who's here? Mother's hockey doesn't even notice your presence, Whitebeard. No, it's not Kaido, and it can't be the redhead. Who is it? Hearing this, Chin-Yong Vivi was stunned. He hadn't even read his mouth to speak, but the other party could even notice it. And listen to his tone, it is affirmative, not doubt. As expected of the 4 emperors. With a chuckle, Chin-Yong did not appear in a hurry, but spoke directly and said, this perception is astonishing. Once I sneaked into Sengoku's office, he was only slightly suspicious, but your tone is not. Is extremely confident. The sound seems to come from Juyu and from all directions. Hearing this, Charlotte Linlin did not panic at all, but instead grinned, revealing a row of terrifying teeth. 7W. What should be surprising is that this hidden ability of mine is the first time I have seen it. She stared at her bloodshot eyes, trying to find the source of the sound, but found nothing. Don't hide, show yourself and let the old lady see, what kind of big man dares to come here. I'm just a little errand, not a big man. Chin-Yong said indifferently. Before I show up, 4 emperors Big Mom, can you tell me how you sensed my existence? Another unpleasant laugh. Charlotte Linlin did not hide it, and said generously, you don't even know, listen to the voice of all things, it doesn't seem like a big man. Listen to the voice of all things. So it is. As soon as the voice fell, a wisp of black smoke drifted past, and the next moment, the dark power condensed into a human form. Good evening, I'm Shadow Demon, from the Dream Pirates. Dream. The word seemed to have magic power, and Charlotte Linlin looked intrigued. But the next moment, her big hand, which was full of milk, was already grabbing towards Qin Yang. Disturbing the old lady's meal, I will give you 50 years of life as punishment. Seeing this, Qin Yang did not move, but a trace of mockery flashed in his eyes. Noticing Qin Yang's confidence, Charlotte Linlin frowned without a trace. She still didn't hold back. Armament hockey turned into a cage, locked Qin Yang, and then her big hand grabbed it. It fell, but it directly grabbed Qin Yang's body, and the upper body turned into a cloud of black smoke, ethereal. Huh, Charlotte Linlin showed surprise. Armament can't catch you. You are not fluid, not even capable. As she spoke, Qin Yang's body condensed again. The old lady takes back what you just said. You are a person. Charlotte Linlin approached her head. Her bloodshot eyes looked up and down. I said, I'm just a little errand. Qin Yang's face was as usual, and he faced it calmly. I'm here on behalf of Juya, and I have a few words for you. Ninth Master. One of our cadres, the nine-tailed demon fox. That Shichibukai, as if thinking of something, Charlotte Linlin suddenly laughed, her mouth full of saliva splashing, incompetent marine. She made no secret of it, and her tone was full of contempt. You're the shadow demon who killed Tenryubito. Sengoku can make your dream people serve as Shichibukai, obviously there's nothing you can do about it. What do you think of Marine? I'm not interested. Qin Yang didn't bother to talk nonsense with her, and said bluntly, the reason why I'm here is just to bring you a message. Your son, Charlotte Keene, and his subordinate Peckhams, are here. In the hands of Juya, I want those two people to live, and I will pay 10 billion to redeem them. Keene, Peckhams. Hearing this, Charlotte Linlin instantly burst out with murderous intent, and her anger suddenly appeared. The whole room began to shake, and a huge hockey filled the space. Don't bother, I'm just a talker, Qin Yang grinned, your soul fruit is useless to me. Your dreams are really courting death. Hurry up and prepare 10 billion, 1 penny less, and wait for the corpse to be collected. Qin Yang was unmoved. One more thing, I know that you and Whitebeard are going to start a war in the near future. If you don't want to use a third party during the war, in terms of power, I advise you to seriously consider what I just said. The voice faded, and the shadow demon's figure gradually disappeared. Come without shadow, gone without a trace. Furious Charlotte Linlin immediately unfolded observation hockey, and in an instant, tens of thousands of meters were within her perception range. However, she couldn't detect any aura from the shadow demon at all. How dare you threaten the old lady? At this moment, the whole cake trembled, and an apocalyptic dark cloud scene appeared in the sky in an instant. Lightning and thunder, and the fury is endless. All the people on the island have noticed the anger of the four emperors, and the monstrous killing intent under the anger. Many people shivered and fell to the ground. Chapter 0057_Subvert the alliance of the four emperors. 0 Bailey equals 1 RMB, so 10 billion is about 500 million Grandpa Mao. The first change, ask for automatic. Automatically increase by 50, plus 1 more. Close black lens bracket. Cake Island, Charlotte Linlin was enraged by Qin Yang's few words, and the whole island shook. Lightning flashed and thundered in the sky, and the thick dark clouds looked like a big hand, wanting to slap the offender to death. And the initiator, Qin Yang, has already returned to Dressrosa in a flash. As soon as he opened his eyes, he released the shadow demon transformation and turned into the nine-tailed demon fox again. As expected of the four emperors, much stronger than Marine's admiral. When confronted, Qin Yang could somewhat feel that the four emperors and admiral were two-level strengths. It was estimated that even a 3-star nine-tailed demon fox would not be able to beat Charlotte Linlin. Looks like you have to get a 4-star rating. You can compete with the four emperors. Out of curiosity, Qin Yang asked, and the answer he got from Fantasy Gene was that it took 5 devil fruits to get a 4-star rating. This can't help but make Qin Yang a little helpless. This is only 3 liters of 4, so he will get 5 coins. If it is 4 liters of 5, he will not be able to get 8 coins, or even 10 coins. Moreover, this is only a transformation. If you want to upgrade all transformations to full stars, you need dozens of devil fruits. It's not about money anymore. You need such a large amount. It's not enough to buy it with money. You have to find it yourself. Shaking his head, Qin Yang decided to change his strategy a little. When making money, take the time to pay attention to the information about the devil fruit. Speaking of making money, the Empress girl still owes me 500 million. I don't know if I have enough. If I don't have enough, it's better to get a devil fruit. It seems that I have to go to 9 Snake Island when I have time. In addition to the Empress's 500 million, Marine still owes him 1 billion, and he has to ask for it when he has time. Charlotte Linlin's 10 billion ransom, for the time being, is not so easy to get. 500 million yuan in his body, Qin Yang only has half of the treasure left by the previous robbery of the heavenly gold. It is estimated that there are 500,000 to 600 million when these things are sold. Thinking of this, Qin Yang got up and left the room. 9 Masters. Charlotte and the 2 were detained. The 2 pirates in charge of guarding saw Qin Yang and immediately put on a smiley face. How are the people inside? That kid is very good, please rest assured Juya, but Peckham's situation, his injuries have not been treated. If he continues, I'm afraid there will be problems. Maybe he will die before Juya gets the ransom. I see. Qin Yang nodded and walked towards the 2 of them. Peckham's was bound with hands and feet. Although the wounds on his body were simply bandaged, his complexion became paler and worse than a few days ago. You go to a doctor. Okay, Master Ju. Immediately, the 2 went out to work. Gu Iota Shan. Qin Yang looked at the lion's head and said, don't worry, I won't let you die. I have to exchange you for money. Do I still have to thank you, Quack? Peckham's looked at Qin Yang angrily. Shaking his head, he chuckled and said with a smile, I have no grievances or enmity with you. Doing this is also compelled by life. Everyone is a pirate, and things like robbery and kidnapping are commonplace. Sparse ordinary fart. What you are blackmailing is the 4 emperors Gawu. Peckham's roared inwardly, but he didn't have the strength to argue with Qin Yang. At this time, Charlotte Keene, who was beside him, said with concern, 9, Master Ju, have you contacted Mother? When will she redeem me? I asked one of my subordinates to go to Cake Island in person, and I did meet your old lady, but, Qin Yang pondered Isho. She was very angry after hearing this, and she probably wanted to kill me to vent her anger. This 10 billion is not easy to get. In Qin Yang's view, most of Big Mom's anger comes from being provoked by the majesty of the 4 emperors, rather than caring about the life and death of a son and a subordinate. You know, the nickname Big Mom is derived from brutality and ferocity. And hearing this, Charlotte Keene's face turned pale. He opened his mouth and was about to say something to save his life when Qin Yang suddenly frowned and swept in the direction of the window. Who, sneaky. As soon as the voice fell, a black figure suddenly broke through the window. The black figure moved quickly. Instead of attacking Qin Yang, it targeted Charlotte Keene. You are courting death for my 10 billion shot. Qin Yang's eyes narrowed, and the golden fox eyes immediately saw the person coming. This man was thin and wore a mask. When he shot, he didn't want to take Charlotte Keene's life, but wanted to take it. Seeing this, the demon fox coat appeared all over Qin Yang's body in an instant. The next moment, he took a step forward and intercepted the opponent with a reflexive kick. So fast. The black shadow let out an exclamation, rushing forward for a while, and had to stop to deal with the blow. However, when he raised his hand to block the foot, he was shocked to find that the strength of the foot was incomparable, and the bones of his right arm whined, and even cracked. Immediately afterwards, the black shadow was kicked and flew to the corner of the room, and the whole person slammed into the wall. Boom! Cracks appeared on the wall, and the man was impacted, and the mask on his face suddenly shattered, revealing the face underneath. It's them, Charlotte Keene exclaimed, so frightened that she hurriedly approached Qinyong, the one who attacked us a week ago. So that's it. Qinyong was stunned. I thought it was Big Mom who sent someone to save you. He just came back from Cake Island, and he subconsciously thought it was Big Mom's subordinate, and he wondered how the other party came to the door, and how could it be so fast. Who are you? At this time, the sneak attacker who was shot up stood up, clutching his injured right arm, his expression unpleasant. This is what I should ask you. Who are you? Qinyong looked at the other party. This man looks in his 20s, a young man. Judging from the fight just now, his speed is quite fast, but his physique is not very good, and he can't even withstand his strength. Hey, the man sneered a few times and said proudly, I belong to the Alliance of Subverting the Four Emperors, under the command of the great pirate Cathrog, captain of the second ship, Assassination Star Unical. Pause, he warned. If you know someone, hand over this person. Big pirate. Qinyong raised his eyebrows. In the New World, there is only one kind of person who can be called a big pirate. To put it simply, a captain, dozens or hundreds of crew members, this is the most common ordinary pirate group in the New World. When several such pirate groups serve in another pirate group, the captain of that pirate group can be called a big pirate. In addition to being more powerful, the general big pirates are also very strong, and most of them can reach more than 500 million. This is something similar to a threshold. As for the subversion of the Alliance of the Four Emperors, mentioned by this person, it is probably a force composed of several such big pirate groups, whose purpose is to peak the Four Emperors. In an instant, Qinyong clarified his thoughts and smiled, dreaming. This man is my 10 billion yuan, I can take it if you want, and ask your captain to exchange it for 10 billion yuan. He is not even afraid of the Four Emperors, and is he afraid of a subversive alliance of the Four Emperors? Chapter 0058_Juyi, Brother Ying is my idol. Open black lens bracket it only went up by 2 automatics I'm so sad oh, hollow square oh close black lens bracket. 10 billion. The sneaker who called himself Unical was stunned. It was the first time he had heard such a huge amount of 10 billion when he grew up so big. Even the king of a country would not be able to take this money, let alone him. What are you kidding? Realizing that he might have been tricked, Unical looked at Qinyong angrily, hand over the person. What if I don't pay? Qinyong chuckled. If you don't pay, then you'll have to grab it. Although you have some strength, but in the New World, the strong are like clouds, and within our alliance, some people will trouble you. Unical said threateningly. If he could, he didn't want to fight the person in front of him. The kick just now made him understand that the other side was not easy to mess with. Hearing this, Qinyong could not laugh or cry. Only then did he go to the Cake Island to threaten the Four Emperors Charlotte Linlin, and in a blink of an eye he was threatened by others. The things in the world are really amazing. While, Qinyong spoke calmly and said, you answer me a question first. If the answer is good, I can consider it. Seeing that he showed signs of letting go, Unical immediately said, what's the problem? How did you find this place? It's easy, I have this kid's Vivre card on hand. Vivre card, also known as life paper, is a special item that is only available in the New World. It is neither afraid of water nor fire. It is made by mixing someone's nails into the material, which represents the owner's vitality. Paper. This paper, when laid flat on the palm of the hand, points to where the owner is. I see, no wonder you can find it here. Qinyong nodded. Apart from you, who else has it? No, the Vivre card is just that big. If you tear it off, it will be invalid. Unical said impatiently. I have already answered your question, you still haven't handed it over. Hearing this, before Qinyong could speak, Charlotte Keene said quickly, Juya, you can't hand me over to them. Faced with life and death, his mind raced quickly. You're just asking for money, I have a way to get it. Even if my mother doesn't want to spend money to redeem me, I can use the identity of the Fourth Emperor's son to get a lot of money. Huh. Yang raised his eyebrows, but he forgot that there was such a way. This guy's identity is a great prop. Not bad, don't worry, you are safe. Shan Pi. Yang haha isho, suddenly moved. Is greater than or equal to. He took a step forward, like a bunch of golden flashes, and came to Unical in an instant. Close hollow corner bracket. Unical was shocked. You don't trust me. I just said I would consider it, but I didn't say I would definitely give it to you. Now that I have considered it, sure enough, people can't be given to you. As soon as the voice fell, Yang punched out. The fist wrapped with the power of the golden demon fox attacked the opponent's face. At the critical moment, Unical's reaction was also very quick. He twisted his waist and avoided it dangerously. When he was about to counterattack, a dark red force suddenly emerged from Yang's body. This power is very evil, condensed into a dark red hand, and directly grabbed Unical. What? He looked dull. What kind of power is this? With a single blow, the opponent was subdued. Yang withdrew his hand, and controlled the dark red big hand to lift the opponent, while he was groping on this person. After a while, he took out a small piece of paper from his pocket. The piece of paper is only the size of a thumb, and when placed in the palm of the hand, it will move slightly in the direction of Charlotte Keene. This is the Vivre card. It's amazing. Yang looked at it curiously and asked in his heart, Huan, is this thing considered a mysterious power? It's not, it's too weak. If a devil fruit is a flame, then it's just a little candlelight, and there's no point in absorbing it. Okay, Yang reluctantly put away the Vivre card. Although he is not afraid of subverting the Four Emperors' alliance, if the other party comes to ask for trouble, it will be very annoying. After receiving the Vivre card, the other party will have no other means to find it. Seeing his behavior, Unical's face turned ashen, trying to break free from the bondage, but there was nothing he could do. You bastard, who the hell are you? He asked through gritted teeth. I'll let you understand and tell you directly. Yang said calmly. I'm the nine-tailed demon fox, the cadre of the dream pirates. Nine-tailed demon fox, Unical exclaimed. Shichibukai. Soon as he finished speaking, he reacted suddenly, staring at Yang in astonishment. What did you say? You are a dream cadre. Is Brother Ying from yours? Brother Ying. Yang was startled. It's the shadow demon who sneaked into the Holy Land and killed Tenryubito. Unical looked a little excited. Ying Yao, it's our member. Yang nodded silently. Seeing him admit it, Unical became more and more excited. Nine-tailed demon fox, let me go, Brother Ying is. You can call the nine-tailed demon fox. It's called Juyi. Yang Vivi narrowed his eyes. Nine masters. People are under the eaves and have to bow their heads. Unical smiled bitterly, let go after shouting, and said embarrassingly, Juya, Brother Ying is my idol. If I knew in advance that you are a dream cadre, I would definitely not take action. Since this kid is in your dream in the hands of this matter, forget it. Quote. How did the shadow demon become your idol? Yang rolled his eyes. It is clear that the transformation of the nine-tailed demon fox is the cadre. Why do I always feel that the shadow demon is much more famous? In terms of combat power, 10 shadow demons couldn't compare to one nine-tailed demon fox. Brother Ying is of course my idol. Unical said with admiration. That is to sneak into the Holy Land and kill Tenryubito. How many 3.7 people in the world dream of doing something? Brother Ying has done it. More he talked, the more excited he became. He smiled and said, the assassin of the phantom, the world government is helpless. My title, Assassination Star, is to imitate Brother Ying. Mom 1 foot's mental retardation. Yang sneered in his heart. Just listen to Unok's face and say, Juya, I beg you, can you let me meet Brother Ying? I want to worship him as a teacher. Brother Ying is the highest pursuit of our assassins, he is the pinnacle of assassins. No doubt, as long as Brother Ying shouts, how many people in the New World are willing to follow Brother Ying? Hearing this, Qinyang was speechless for a while. Unconsciously, the shadow demon has such a great influence. Obviously running errands. Qinyang was speechless. Chapter 0059_Fame. Unikal is both a brother and a master. Qinyang is embarrassed to kill. According to his original idea, this kind of person can be killed directly, the other party in the province escapes, and then goes back to tip off. You're making it difficult for me. The old god Qinyang was looking at each other on the ground. Nine-tailed demon, no, Master Ju, are you worried that the alliance is targeting you? Unikal said quickly. Actually, don't worry about this. This kid is just one of our goals, not a very important role. The reason for arresting him is to deal with Big Mom. Quote. Qinyang is not afraid of the problems the other party is looking at, but mainly because of the trouble. His current main task is to collect devil fruits. How can he have time to play with this group of people? In contrast, the dream pirates are much more important. Unikal laughed again. Since the shadow demon killed Tenryubito and the name of Dream has been resounding in the New World, our alliance has the idea of attracting you to join us. Hearing this, Qinyang pouted, not interested at all. 15. However, after thinking about it, he chuckled again. You said just now that you want to worship the shadow demon as your teacher. Yes, that's right. Unikal was overjoyed. If you don't dislike it, I can leave the alliance now, leave the Kazrog pirates, and join your dream. Don't think about it, you still want to join the fantasy at your level. Qinyang rolled his eyes. The shadow demon is only an ordinary member in our dream. Hearing this, Unikal was shocked. A pirate so powerful as the shadow demon is just an ordinary member. With the current reputation, Yingyao is fully capable of forming a large fleet of pirates, becoming the captain and becoming one of the big pirates in the New World. Thinking of this, he just realized that the nine-tailed demon fox in front of him is a cadre, that is to say, his status and strength are still above the shadow demon. It's impossible for you to join the dream, but it's not impossible if you want to worship the shadow demon as your teacher. Qinyang smiled and said, prepare the apprenticeship ceremony first. The apprenticeship ceremony. Unikal was dumbfounded. Ninth Master, what should I prepare? Devil fruits. Qinyang grinned. The shadow demon guy likes to collect devil fruits the most. If you prepare one, he will basically agree to it. Hearing this, Unikal was not only not angry, but overjoyed. Does it only need devil fruits? As long as... Qinyang was at a loss for words. Who is this guy's admiration for shadow demon? Even if he wanted to find a devil fruit, it was very troublesome. Speaking of which, when I came to the sea in Dressrosa, I met a group of pirates. Suddenly, Unikal said in a low voice, there are definitely devil fruits on the boat of that group of people. Huh. Hearing the devil fruit, Qinyang suddenly came to his senses. Ninth Master, can you let me go first? Your power is very evil, eroding my body. Unikal smiled bitterly. Seeing this, Qinyang thought, and the dark red hands condensed by evil forces disappeared. Tell me, how can you be sure? It is so. Immediately, Unikal explained the general situation. To put it simply, this guy met a group of pirates at sea when he was tracking Charlotte Keene, and then sneaked into the ship and entered the storage room to eat and drink secretly. As a result, at that time, he heard some conversations outside. When did you meet? Qinyang asked. 5 days ago. Which direction did they go? The direction I came to Dressrosa is similar, but from their tone, it seems to be going to a deeper island, which is probably the sea area of the Four Emperors Whitebeard. Nodding, Qinyang thought for a while. Do you want to join the Whitebeard pirates? What's so strange about this? The pirates of the New World either submit to the Four Emperors, or form an alliance with each other, otherwise they will not be able to survive at all. Shaking his head, Qinyang said, this has nothing to do with me. It's the same sentence I said just now. As long as you can get the devil fruit as a gift for apprenticeship, I will naturally notify Shadow Demon and let you meet him. Okay, Master Ju, I will definitely complete the task. Unical was full of energy and said, I will chase them now. My speed is very fast, so I should be able to catch up. As he spoke, his body suddenly changed. The first was his head. 6 eyes suddenly appeared on his forehead. Then, on his 2 ribs, 6 hairy spiders with long legs broke through the skin and grew out. Qinyang was startled when he saw it, and within 3 to 5 seconds, this person basically turned into a spider over 1 meter long. Able person. Yes, Juya, I am a zone ability, spider fruit, water spider form. Unical said proudly, I can crawl at sea faster than most ships. Qinyang panicked when he saw it. He waved his hand and said, let's go, you'll have a headache just looking at it. Then Juya, I'm leaving. Oh, by the way, this is my Vivre card. If you have anything to ask, you can come to me at any time. With that said, Unical handed out a blank piece of paper and handed it to Qinyang, then kicked it with 8 feet, and left the window in 1 leap. Shaking his head, Qinyang only regarded it as an investment. If he let go of the other party, he might get a piece of fruit. This kind of thing is not bad. At this time, the 2 crew members who had left before came in with a doctor. Ninth Master, the doctor has brought it. Well, treat Peckham's for 387, and the money is on his own. Remember, don't fully heal, just don't let him die. Qinyang gave an order and waved an evil force, breaking the rope that bound Charlotte Keene. Suddenly free, Charlotte Keene was surprised and thought that the murderous Shichibukai was going to let him go, but the next sentence turned his smiling face into a wry smile. Don't think about it, I'm not letting you go. You come with me. Yes, Master Ju, where are you going? Where do you want to go? Qinyang snorted softly and said, aren't you the son of the 4th Emperor? Of course, you made good use of your status and took money from the King of Dressrosa. Bastard, the word, take, is so well used. Charlotte Keene is madly complaining, this hateful pirate, just finished blackmailing his 4 emperors, and in a blink of an eye, he used him as a waste to blackmail the king. He couldn't help thinking in the bottom of his heart that it would be best to slash a thunderbolt from the sky and kill this bastard, but he quickly changed his face to a smile. That's right, Juya asked the king to take money, that's for the king's face. When the time comes, I'll have the king send some princesses to serve Juya well. Qinyang, however, was unmoved, maintaining his demeanor. Don't talk nonsense, come with me. Yes. Immediately, the 2 left the hotel and headed towards the palace. Chapter 0060_5th change. That night, Qinyang brought Charlotte Keene to visit King Dressrosa. Before going to the palace, Qinyang couldn't help but spend a little money to get the other party a decent set of clothes, and by the way, clean up, so as not to be seen as a prisoner at a glance. As for the Liku royal family, as soon as they heard that the visitor was the son of the 4 emperors' big mom, they immediately invited the 2 to a reception hall. The hall is elegantly decorated with several plush sofas. After Qinyang sat down, he looked up at the king. The king's name is Liku Dold III, with a national face, about 50 years old, wearing a cashmere coat, showing a noble style. After pondering for a while, Qinyang said softly, Your Majesty, this is Charlotte Keene, the 27th son of the 4 emperors' big mom. Hearing this, Dolder III nodded, looking calm and not suddenly frightened by the name of the 4 emperors. He didn't even fully believe Qinyang's one-sided words. Besides, even if it was true, the person in front of him was only a son of the 4th emperor, not the 4th emperor himself. Thinking of this, he looked sideways at Qinyang and asked with a little doubt, Who are you? He could see that Charlotte Keene seemed to be somewhat afraid of this person. As a king, he had seen countless people, and he had this feeling from the first time he saw the 2. I'm a 9-tailed demon fox. Qinyang chuckled and said, I met Brother Keene by chance at sea, and I came to visit His Majesty the King on the way. Isn't that right, Keene? Yes, Master Ju. Word, Master, was spoken. Charlotte Keene reacted and quickly changed her words. King, I and Jue are friends. A few days ago, my ship was attacked by a group of thieves, thanks to Jue's rescue. In this regard, Dolder III was noncommittal, and only said a few scenes. He always felt that the strange name of the nine-tailed demon fox had never been heard before. Nine-tailed demon fox. After chewing for a moment, he reacted suddenly, huh? Your Majesty Shichibukai. 6 days ago, Marine announced to the world that he was one of the 7 great pirates recognized by the world government. This time, the king was really shocked. One of the 4 emperors' sons, a Shichibukai, suddenly visited his own country. It is hard to believe that it was a drop-in visit. Mr. Ninetails, I don't know if the 2 visitors need my help. After thinking about it, Dolder III took the initiative to speak, and Qinyang was the main language in his words. In his opinion, Shichibukai was obviously more worthy of attention than the son of the 4th emperor. However, Qinyang was not in a hurry to say his purpose, but said, His Majesty the King doesn't seem to believe in our identity, so let me reveal my body, and you will understand. Ontology. The king was startled. Aren't you curious, why am I called the nine-tailed demon fox? Qinyang said with a playful smile, ready to scare the other party. As soon as the voice fell, Qinyang's body overflowed with red evil power, and the whole person exuded a dazzling red light. Seeing this scene, not only the king, but also Charlotte Keene, who was beside him, was stunned. I saw that Qinyang's body continued to expand, and in an instant, it had grown to the height of the ceiling, and the shape also changed from a human shape to a dark red fox. Not only that, but the tail of this fox is gradually taking shape. 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails, a total of 9 tails. My body is the nine-tailed demon fox, and that's where my name comes from. The demon fox spit out human words. His voice was low and distant. The king turned pale in shock. Hurry up and stop. Lord Nine-Tailed Demon Fox. If it gets bigger, the whole welcoming hall can't hold up at all. Hearing this, Qinyang's thoughts moved, and the form of the demon fox gradually shrank again, and in the blink of an eye, he regained his human form again. I believe it, the king said with lingering fears. What are you 2 looking for from me? He believed it now, and had a bad premonition. Qinyang chuckled lightly and said, Your Majesty, I do have something to look for you. However, it's not me, but this one. Hearing this, Charlotte Keene came back to his senses. He was also frightened by Qinyang's body. The dark red fox could feel an incomparably evil power just by looking at it. Hearing Qinyang's words at this moment, he immediately said, King, my ship was attacked and destroyed by thieves. Now I need some money to buy new ships and recruit sailors. Don't worry, this money will be available when I return. After the Big Mom waters, the return will be doubled. Quote. Want money. When Dolder III heard this, his heart suddenly felt bitter, and he knew that the 2 of them were not as simple as visiting. However, the status of the 2 of them is too high, and he can't refuse it easily. In case of angering the 2, it will be difficult to end, and even the country will lead to disaster. How much do you need? 2 billion, Charlotte Keene said calmly. Since Qinyang was by his side anyway, he wasn't afraid at all. 2 billion. Dolder exclaimed, What ship needs 2 billion? This is an obvious robbery. Stabilize them first, then seek Marine's help. King Liku was helpless. The nine-tailed demon fox was Shichibukai under the king, and he could only pray that Marine could intervene. Thinking of this, he hurriedly said, This amount of money is too large, I can't take it out for a while, the 2 of you will stay in the palace for a few days. Waiting for the 2 to speak, he said, Come on, take the 2 distinguished guests to rest. Hearing this, Charlotte Keene was a little upset. Qinyang spoke first and said, Then please prepare the king well. This money is related to the fate of your country. The underlying meaning of his words was to express the catastrophe that happened to Dressrosa 2 years later. If he gets 2 billion, Qinyang doesn't mind intervening, and by the way, he will take more flamenco. However, when it fell into the king's ears, he felt chills all over his body, thinking that Qin Yang and the two were preparing to subvert his country, and they were even more shocked. He was about to say something, but saw that the two had already left. No, I have to contact Marine immediately. Even Shichibukai, the son of the fourth emperor and the king, can bully people like this. Thinking of this, Dolder took action immediately. He went to the study, found the phone bug, and called Marine headquarters directly. Marine's headquarters was very conscientious and listened to his words in detail, but when he heard that it was a nine-tailed demon fox, he immediately interrupted. Your Majesty, the nine-tailed demon fox is His Majesty Shichibukai, and Marine has no right to interfere with his actions. Just entertain him. Having said that, the correspondent hung up directly, and at the same time he couldn't help but slander in his heart. This is a character that Marshal Sengoku specially instructed. Even among Shichibukai, he is a very special one. How could Marine dare to mess with this master casually? On the other end of the phone, King Riku felt a chill in his heart, and Marine couldn't count on it. At the same time, she was also very shocked. Obviously, Marine also had a headache with the nine-tailed demon fox and didn't want to interfere at all. Not to mention the king's inner entanglement, Qin Yang was taken to the guest room by the palace maid to rest. As soon as the people left, Charlotte Keene said as if taking credit, Ju Yi, how was my performance just now? Qin Yang glanced at him and was too lazy to answer. Ninth Master, don't worry, the king will definitely give 2 billion. It won't be so simple, Qin Yang snorted softly and said, it seems that I have to stay for a few days. Everything was as he expected. For 3 days in a row, King Riku delayed in various ways, but he did not give money. However, Qin Yang was in no hurry. On the 4th night, Assassination Star Unical suddenly came back, sneaked into the palace and found him directly. Qin Yang couldn't help being a little surprised when someone suddenly broke in from the window in the middle of the night. Upon closer inspection, he found that the man was injured a lot and was bloodied. Ninth Master, I got the devil fruit, Unical said excitedly when he saw Qin Yang. You got it, so fast. Qin Yang was stunned, and immediately saw the other party take out a devil fruit. Unical handed the fruit to Qin Yang, and then said with a bitter face, the fruit was snatched, but it only got into trouble with the Whitebeard pirates. Who? Phoenix Marco.